The U.S. men's national team got dominated yesterday by Belgium. Let's dive into that and much, much more right now on First Word.
Welcome to First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show, breaking down the biggest moments and the stories shaping Cincinnati sports with analysis that cuts through. First Word, setting the agenda in Cincinnati sports.
Let's talk that soccer. Welcome into First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati. And, well, for the only time this year, unless FC Cincinnati does something really, really awesome, we're going to talk about soccer to lead the show. And we're going to talk about the U.S. men's national team. And unfortunately, it was ugly. Ugly from the jump yesterday. And there was never really a time and never a moment in the 4-1 loss where I felt like that the U.S. men were really competing at the level that Belgium was. Belgium scored early in the 8th minute, and they never looked back, and they dominated early on, and they left a few goals out there. And then the U.S. men's national team had multiple, gaffes that led to goals for Belgium. And so that 4-1 loss, we felt every bit of it. And, ugly, ugly, ugly. There's a lot of takes out there. You're probably going to get plenty of those this morning right here on First Word. But the bottom line is the U.S. men eliminated from the World Cup.
Yeah, disappointing result. Belgium clearly looked like the better team last night and the team that came to play a little bit more prepared. And you wonder if all of the Flo Balogun news ended up being a distraction for the U.S. because there was talk of do they still start Pepe because they already came up with a game plan and had been preparing for that. And so at the end of the day, just a tough result. But I think you can still look back at what the U.S. did this World Cup and as they kind of reinvigorated the nation and everyone and kind of, joined and kind of in support across the country for them. So at the end of the day, tough to see him go out this way, but I don't necessarily think this was a disappointing tournament for the U.S.
Yeah, they get to the round of 16, and as you see there, possession really irrelevant because Belgium was leading, so they didn't care if they had the ball or not. They were just sitting back and relaxing for a lot of that second half. But the shots on goal, the corners, just domination, and obviously you see the goals in the 9th and 33rd minute, which really put Belgium in control.
Yeah, absolutely. U.S. tied it at 1, and that tie lasted for, I think, 61 seconds of game time. Yeah. And then Belgium took the lead again and never really looked back. And the shots right there really tell the story of the game. The U.S. just didn't have many chances to even score. If they maximized those chances, it still would have been an uphill fight to score 5 goals and try to win that game. So it's just clearly outmatched, really, from the start last night. And it's a shame that they go out that way because there was never really a chance for the fans to get into that game last night and have a lot of fun in what ended up being the last game of a very memorable World Cup.
Yeah, Belgium really kind of seized control early, not only with that first goal, but they had 15 of their 11 other 15 shots coming in that first half. And the other World Cup games for the U.S., they combined 10 total shots between Turkey, Paraguay, Australia, and Bosnia. So the U.S. just did not get out to a strong start whatsoever.
And that's what they were doing. You're right. Throughout the World Cup, they were getting out to a lead. They were getting out, controlling the match early on. Even against Bosnia, they had opportunities, didn't take advantage, and they were able to right before halftime. But yeah, this one, it felt like they were chasing the whole time. They never felt like they were in a rhythm. Certainly were never in control for even a minute, even when they did score. Here's Tyler Adams on the match afterward on Fox Sports.
Tyler, I know that this loss will sting for a while. What was missing? How would you assess the performance from the group?
Yeah, I think football can be cruel sometimes. Let's not get it twisted. I think the better team won today. I don't think our performance was great overall. That being said, I don't think we can take away what we accomplished in the rest of the tournament and the type of football that we were playing and trying to play. I think tonight the goals that we conceded were too easy. When you give good players the opportunity to score goals, they're going to score goals. And that's what happens as you progress in the tournament. Normally the teams get better and better, and we faced a good Belgian side today. So, again, I think it's in the moments that we were doing well, we felt amazing. And then obviously in an opportunity like today, we didn't grasp it, and it's going to sting, like you said.
There's Tyler Adams afterward. A couple of things. One, I thought they were tentative from the jump and just kind of out of sync, out of sorts. A lot of people are going to talk about the third goal where Matt Freese looked like me learning to play FIFA. Like, that's what it was. Like, me in college learning to play. Oh, I pulled my keeper way too far out, and then your buddy scores on you. Like, that's what it looked like. It was ridiculous. He also had some awesome saves. I also think the first goal, like, they were frozen in time. It was like the U.S. pressed pause, and Belgium was like, oh, okay, we'll take this goal. Like, there were so many mistakes like that Tyler Adams was referring to. And in that, along with maybe distraction. Like, I don't know what it was, but it definitely didn't feel like it. I don't think it was just a talent thing. I think it was a confidence, aggressive, focus element to it for sure. And I thought maybe 10 minutes in or so, they would get those butterflies out of their system, and that just never happened. And it felt like they were chasing the whole time. There was never a moment where I was like, all right, they've settled in. I felt like they settled into the Bosnia match. As you advance, the competition's going to get tougher. Totally get that. At the same time, I thought at some point we would see that, and we just didn't yesterday.
No, not at all. And I think that's what's really frustrating for a lot of people at this point is it looked like a different team last night than the first 4 games. It wasn't the same, vigor going out there to start the game and attacking, in the first half. And maybe that is partially the talent discrepancy, but it didn't seem like that was the only thing last night. It just was a completely different brand of soccer than we'd seen this U.S. team play through the first, 4 games of this tournament. And I think part of that is certainly the raised level of competition going up against Belgium versus the teams that they had played in the group stage and in the first knockout round, but still just expected them to put a better foot forward here in a knockout game, one of, if not the biggest games in the history of U.S. soccer, and to just fall flat like that on home soil is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it was. And Tom Rinaldi even spoke with a couple of the Belgian players afterwards, and they had said that, the whole, red card Balogun situation kind of gave them a little bit of extra motivation going into that, too. And that was something we talked yesterday about being a little worried about, giving Belgium extra, motivation going into this one and letting them get control early. But afterwards, Christian Pulisic spoke with Jenny Taft, and there's still the sentiment about rallying the nation together, and he spoke about just what the fan support meant during this World Cup run.
The team really inspired a whole nation to rally around you guys and support this team. What did that support mean to this group, and have you been able to reflect on that at this World Cup?
I mean, I'll reflect on it more, but it's been such an incredible journey. Like this summer, I never wanted it to end, so I'm just so thankful to all the American people that supported us and gave us that boost. It was awesome. Something, definitely a summer I'll never forget.
And any thoughts on building on this in the future?
Of course. I mean, we need to get over that next hurdle and trying to compete and beat the world's best, and that's our next step for us. It wasn't quite there today, but I think we showed a lot of good things that we have potential to do it, but there's still another step that we have to take.
Christian Pulisic, there you go. You see him, and obviously he struggled throughout this World Cup, and you see the history there for the United States at the World Cup. The round of 16 in 3 of the past 4. They didn't qualify in 2018, or 4 of the past 5, they didn't qualify in 2018. And so there's going to be a lot of, is it a success or is it not? And we could debate that all day long. I think the other big topic today is going to be Christian Pulisic and his performance, lack thereof, his struggles, taking a lot, and I mean a lot, of criticism today. But there you see it. This is the first knockout stage win since 2002 for the U.S. men. But Christian Pulisic certainly going to be the talk of the country when it comes to soccer right now from a criticism standpoint.
No, absolutely. He didn't have a great game last night, to say the least. But looking at that graphic that we just had, it's hard for me to call this a disappointing tournament run because of the milestones that they had reached. And the round of 16 has kind of been an Achilles heel for this team. But I just go back to they've created so much momentum for soccer across the country. I mean, the last month, that's everyone's been talking about has been this U.S. team in the World Cup, and especially being a host city. And so the fact that the U.S., I think, exceeded expectations in the sense of playing and competing with some of these European teams, which they hadn't done in the past, as we saw that they snapped that 12-game winless streak against European teams when they beat Bosnia. Obviously you wanted them to come out with a little bit more fire, and, it seemed against Belgium. It didn't happen, and that's because some of the stars, like you just kind of said, Pulisic didn't really, they didn't bring their best game last night, just simple as that.
Expanded field certainly helped get that first knockout win since 2002, but I think the frustrating thing at this point is that when is an opportunity like this going to happen for U.S. soccer again? When are you going to have a team with this kind of excitement behind them on U.S. soil in a World Cup, sold-out stadium in Seattle? We've seen these atmospheres so far. Marisa's talking about how much everyone's talking about these teams. I mean, everything from Cincinnati to Columbus all across the country was packed last night to watch this game. It feels like there's more excitement behind United States soccer than there's been in quite some time. And last night was a huge opportunity to win that game and really just pour gas on that fire and really take over the whole country and hopefully build over the next 4 years to something even better in 2030. And it feels like they missed a huge opportunity for United States soccer last night. And it's still a great World Cup. And I think a few days, certainly weeks from now, it'll be a lot easier to look back and be happy with this team and a lot of the things they accomplished over the last few weeks. But last night just felt like a massive opportunity to beat a team without their best players in the starting lineup. Lukaku came in late and scored, but De Bruyne didn't play last night. He's Belgium's best player. So it was a huge opportunity for the U.S., and they just failed to take advantage of one that I think a lot of people, whether right or wrong, thought they were the better team going into last night. They were favored in Vegas. Plenty of analysts picked them on the pregame shows, and just at no point in the 90-plus minutes last night was there really a lot of faith that they could pull it off.
And even if they didn't win, because I thought if they won, it would be close. Like, I wasn't kidding about the bet.
Yeah.
Show up.
Exactly.
That's the disappointing. Like, if you lose 3-2 and you're busting your tail and it's like there's 3 shots on goal from the 80th to the 90th minute and an extra time to tie it, well, yeah, like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But to have the gaffes that Freeze had to make it 3-1. Like, that can't happen. That's literally holding the triangle button and pulling your goalie in FIFA in too far, and then you just give up this easy goal. And obviously I'm referring to the video game, but that's what it felt like. It felt like someone newly playing a video game in the round of 16 in the World Cup with the U.S. trying to do something that they haven't done in a long, long time. Our guy Jeff Cameron talked about the disappointment on SportsCenter afterward.
You could see it. They were like apprehensive from the first game we played in the World Cup against Paraguay. We set the tone. We were aggressive. We had this energy. We didn't have that tonight. And I think all over the pitch, we were second best. And you could sense that. We were second guessing. Do we step? Do we drop? We were giving them too much respect. Hey, they're a top 10 FIFA ranked team, right? But you got to give them respect, but you don't give them too much respect. They're also playing in front of our fans. And for us, I think we were apprehensive. We were nervous. Those are all big things. There's a huge knockout game. This is a rematch from 2014, which I had the privilege to play in. Listen, I understand those nerves, but we had too much quality to go out the way we did tonight.
The nerves part's interesting. At some point, that's got to shake. After that first goal, you give up that goal. All right, it's 1-0. They did that against Bosnia. I felt it early, and then they kept pushing. They get a goal to go, and they were able to settle into it. There was no settling. They're still not settled. They're very much unsettled. And the thing that I don't understand is if you think that this opponent is so awesome, play like you have nothing to lose. And the U.S. played like they had everything to lose. And I don't know if it was the Balogun part of it or what it was, but if Jeff Cameron saw it, we all saw it. It doesn't take him to see it. Like, they were tentative and they were questioning themselves. And the question now is why when they had an alternative.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the even bigger question at this point, with no games left in this World Cup, is where do you go from here? I mean, this is the core that has been talked about for, I think, the last 4 or 5 World Cup cycles to wait for this one, where the U.S. is going to have a chance to host with Pulisic and Balogun and all of these great players on the U.S. soil. And it's to still go out in the same round that they've went out in 4 of the last 5 tournaments. Nice to certainly be in this World Cup field, but still just feels like more of the same. You get your first crack at one of the legitimate European teams, and you can't take advantage. I think, if anything, this just kind of emphasized where the U.S. stands at this point in the global scale, and it's that tier below the other teams that are competing to win a world championship.
Yeah, and there were certainly some bright spots on this U.S. team. I mean, Alex Freeman had a solid game and has had a great World Cup. He had a high 12 duels won in last night's match. And then, of course, Malik Tillman, who had the goal off of the set piece there. And he became the first U.S. men's national team player to score multiple direct free kick goals at a World Cup in the last 60 years. So he is certainly someone that this team can build around. And there are core pieces to that point. You just wish a little few more of them would have stepped up in a moment like last night, as you kind of mentioned, and you hit it perfectly. Feels like a missed opportunity for U.S. soccer.
Plenty to build on. Plenty to build on.
If Gabe hit pause on the show for 5 seconds, that was the U.S. defending that first goal against Belgium. And that set the tone for the night. We're setting the tone today on a Tuesday edition of First Word. Plenty to dive into. Bengals, some Reds later. But up next, everything you missed while you slept right here on First Word. How big of a challenge is that with the NIL rosters flipping like crazy? You mentioned the 7 new guys, just one getting guys in the building and going up against everybody else when it comes to the NIL side. And then when they get there, you got to get them familiar and comfortable, and not on the court, but off of it as well.
Yeah, we've tried to embrace just understanding that this is a one-shot deal every year, right? Mm-hmm. And you're just starting over. You hope you can retain some good guys. Your recruiting starts with trying to retain. But, this year we only have one starter back, so we're going to have essentially a brand new team. And in some ways it's exciting because you're going out and you think that you're able to really narrow down and pinpoint these are exactly the needs that we have. And then you just got to figure out, are we in the ballpark money-wise?
Obviously, bringing in players is a huge piece, but you just mentioned the retention there. As a mid-major, how's the struggle when guys progress and play really well to have them not try to take that leap and keep them at NKU?
It's not a struggle. You just lose them. You just do. I think our league last year, the stat was of the 15 guys that made one of the all-conference teams, 14 of them left the league. Wow. And so it's kind of an assumption. And so, again, even in recruiting, we got a really talented freshman this year that I think maybe could help us a lot. There's no guarantees back to the sophomore year. So again, we just kind of take that one-year approach. How can we be the best team to win a championship this year in the Horizon League?
This is the Rebound Rundown. I'm your host, Paul Fritchner. Your home for college basketball in the Cincinnati area and across the country every Monday through Friday during the season. Previews, recaps, breakdowns, interviews, and more. You can find it all right here. Your one-stop shop for a quick dose of college hoops on your morning commute. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Every morning, Cincinnati wakes up and gets to work. Companies are built, deals are made, restaurants open, ideas become careers, and every day the people behind it all sit down at the working lunch. Founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, community leaders, the people building Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, weekdays, noon to 1, only on The Crown.
This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
Will Jacob Tissot eat a waffle today? Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. Jacob?
I like waffles.
All right.
Yeah, but we're boycotting waffles today.
Yeah, are
Pancakes
you eating
only.
a Belgian waffle today?
No, that was like the last week. I've gone a week without a waffle now, like 4 days without a waffle.
So is today it? Regardless, you're moving on?
If I can find a waffle, I'll eat a waffle.
Oof, I'm not ready for waffles yet.
No, tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow. Today it's blueberry pancakes, and Friday it's go Spain.
Okay. All right.
No?
I'm in.
Hey, I'm competitive, and the U.S. men's national team, it would have been nice if they showed up yesterday, but they didn't. Let's get to them and much, much more right now, including the latest on LeBron. Your guy, LeBron, we have the latest on him and his free agency strategy coming up in While You Slept. But first, the U.S. men's national team, their World Cup run came to an end last night in the round of 16. A 4-1 loss to Belgium. No waffles for Christian Pulisic and this U.S. men's national team. It really from the jump, they weren't in control. Game got away early. They never really rallied. There was never a point, I thought, like 75th minute. They had a good shot on goal in the 79th minute. And I was like, oh, but they like celebrated like it went in. And I was like, oh, this doesn't feel great. Like, oh, you got a shot on goal. If it would have went in, that's much different, obviously. But yeah, the vibes were off from the jump.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, Belgium took a lead 9 minutes into the game. U.S. found a way to tie it, and that tie lasted for about 60 seconds. So not a whole lot of time to really believe in getting a win last night, and really...
Ted Lasso reference.
Yeah.
Believe.
For sure. Yeah, I think everyone just wanted that one to be closer than it was last night.
Yeah, Belgium just looked like the better team. They came out, like you mentioned, seized control early, had all the momentum going into that one. And when you only have 2 shots on goal for the night, probably not going to cut it. U.S. had 0 big chances created. It was just a tough match overall, and especially in that first half, allowing 11 shots to Belgium. They only had allowed 10 first half shots in their 4 previous World Cup games combined. So Belgium came out in attack mode early on, and it showed.
Yeah, as big as, and like if you read the graphic there, defensive error, seal 4-1 defeat. I never felt like the U.S. was in position to score. Like outside of the outside of the one they scored, I can remember. Like you think about Balogun, like and all the talk about it. Like did he ever have a real shot? Like he had one that went over the goal that they thought was touched and it wasn't, and so it wasn't a corner. But like other than that. Never really thought that he had many, like there was not many times where he had the ball, a chance to make a move and have a shot on goal. And Belgium did a really good job, I think, of defending and then turning it into an attack on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the U.S. just never really had a push, never really applied much pressure to Belgium at all in the game. And I think the frustrating thing when you look at the final score there, 4-1, is 2 of those 4 goals are really questionable. I mean, certainly Lukaku's at the end is right as the game was ending. It's a great goal. Certainly not taking anything away from that, but not a great descriptor of the game. And then obviously Matt Freese's gaffe at goalie when he missed the ball there and kicked it behind him, certainly not great either. But 2 things that weren't necessarily in the flow of the game for the U.S. And how much differently would the view of this World Cup and this national team's run be if that final score last night was 2-1? I think holding your own against Belgium is a huge piece of this whole thing, and the fact that they were blown out the way it looks on the scoreboard this morning and just the eye test of domination in that game for one of the top 10 countries in the world just kind of further emphasizes the point that the United States has a little bit ways to go until they're going to be an actual threat in the World Cup.
No, they absolutely do, and you can see that with just, historically the round of 16 has kind of been this like team's Achilles heel at times too, and you're right, it's the eye test. I mean, 4-1 on the score sheet, yeah, you don't want to have lost by 3 goals, but eye test wise, they just didn't. They looked lost at times. They just didn't look like the complete team that we had seen in other games during this World Cup run, and so not a great moment for this team to kind of choose to play its worst game of the tournament, arguably, kind of on the biggest stage when all the eyes were on them.
Yeah, the how matters. Like when you're measuring up against these, like if you lose by a goal and it's a late goal or it goes to penalties or you're competitive, it never felt like they were competitive. And Christian Pulisic taking plenty of criticism today after his performance throughout the World Cup. Here's what he had to say afterward.
The team really inspired a whole nation to rally around you guys and support this team. What did that support mean to this group, and have you been able to reflect on that at this World Cup?
I mean, I'll reflect on it more, but it's been such an incredible journey. Like this summer, I never wanted it to end. So I'm just so thankful to all the American people that supported us and gave us that boost. It was awesome. Something, definitely a summer I'll never forget.
And any thoughts on building on this? in the future?
Of course. I mean, yeah, we need to get over that next hurdle and trying to compete and beat the world's best, and that's our next step for us. It wasn't quite there today, but I think we showed a lot of good things that we have potential to do it, but there's still another step that we have to take.
Another step, man. You have like 50,000 steps. The thing is, and whatever, you don't have to be good on a mic. I just want you good on the field. And he wasn't good on the field, as you can see there. Lost possession 11 times in 45 minutes. How healthy was he? It doesn't matter. He was on the field, so that's it, right? To me, I want to hear. I'm so embarrassed that we got dominated like that. And I'm going to work tirelessly when I'm 31, 4 years from now, to find a chance and an opportunity to get out of the round of 16, because we haven't in so long. Like, that's what I want to hear. And maybe he is thinking that and saying that and all. Still want to hear it. And so not hearing it, combined with just stinking up the joint if you're Christian Pulisic throughout the World Cup, that's a tough sell for me when you're supposed to be the star.
Yeah, there was so much talk about Balogun certainly over the last week, leading scorer so far in this World Cup, but no question who the face of United States soccer is. It's Christian Pulisic, and he did not play well in this World Cup, and this was one that had been circled for him for a long time as Captain America and the savior of this team. A lot of great milestones hit in this World Cup, but still losing in the same round that they seem to always lose. So it's incredibly frustrating, and certainly hope that he would do better on this big stage, because it's what fans have been waiting for a long time.
Maybe Captain America before the super soldier serum. There we go. Pre-serum.
Well, Steve Rogers.
The stuff that makes him strong. Yeah. Just for those that are like, what are you talking about? The stuff that made Captain America Captain America.
We should just call him Steve.
Yeah. Man. There we go. Steve.
Steve?
That's how he
played like Steve.
Steve Pulisic. I'm sorry, man, but that's it. And I really wish he would have been like, I'm going to work tirelessly over the next 4 years. Because there was the other quote, and it's going viral today, so we might as well cover it all. Like, in June, he was like, yeah, it's just another tournament. And you can do that, and you can say that if you show up and treat it like a different tournament. But when you go out there and it feels just like another tournament for Christian Pulisic, and the production isn't there and all those things, well, guess what? You're going to take heat. You're going to take criticism. And one guy that is certainly taken his fair share of criticism over the past 2+ decades is LeBron James. And he's also received his fair share of praise in the NBA world, focused on where LeBron is going to end up. And it's a double-edged sword, certainly, when you're a star. Christian finding that out. LeBron has found that out for many, many years. And, well, guess what? He doesn't plan on meeting with a bunch of teams and taking the tour like he did in 2010, being courted by different teams. Here's Chris Haynes on NBA TV with the latest on LeBron James's free agency plans.
I'm told, as of right now, there are no plans for LeBron to engage in any meetings to allow teams to pitch him on an idea of coming to their prospective teams. What I am told that his agent, Rich Paul, is doing all the background work. He's talking with teams, and then in return, he will relay all the intel and data to LeBron James, in which LeBron will make a decision. So there will be no meetings, no pitches that will allow for teams to sit down with LeBron. LeBron will make his decision based off of the intel that he's receiving from his agent, Rich Paul.
No meetings for LeBron this free agency cycle, and I think that's just more of a formality. I think a lot of these pitches are happening on social media in this era, happening to Rich Paul through emails or phone calls or whatever, just because LeBron's not sitting in the room with all 30 GMs, 29 GMs if you want to eliminate the Lakers. I don't think he's not getting pitches from these teams. There's plenty of avenues to get those pitches to one of the greatest players of all time if you want him on your team this year. So I certainly think there's still, avenues to get your thoughts across, and I don't think it's really been whittled down too much for LeBron. I think the people that have always believed he's going to end up in Cleveland for a retirement tour still believe that. I think there's a big group that also believes all these other teams are waiting to make one more big move to lure him in. So one of those two is probably going to happen, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's interesting to listen to what we just did because, yeah, if he might not be in those meetings directly, to your point, it doesn't mean like he's not getting all that information. He's not engaged in some way, even if it's just between him and his agent and his camp, back home too. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see just how this all continues to unfold and how long are we going to have to be on LeBron watch for? Is this going to play out all summer? It almost kind of feels like it's trending that way.
I'm in. Just have it last all summer.
Yeah, it may last longer. I think he has a pretty darn good idea. Like, I don't think it's decided. I think if it was decided, he would just do it and then he would go on vacation and do his thing.
Yeah.
I think that there's something that's holding him back from doing it, and maybe it's a move, maybe it's not, maybe it's evaluating what's going to happen in Philly or one of these other places. I'm not sure, but I think it is really interesting that he's taking this approach. That the reports out there that he's at least open to making less than $4 million on the veteran minimum. There are teams, Cavaliers, Warriors, that can offer over $15 million with the mid-level exception. And he's going to make less than he's ever made. And so I think he feels like, hey, I can take my time. They don't need that max salary slot. Fine. Well, we'll see what these teams do. I know this, whether it's the Cavs, the Warriors, any of these teams, I would be trying to do what I can to get that commitment. And so if it's make a trade, if it's make a move, if it's sign this guy, if it's do whatever, that's what I'd be trying to do to make sure that I would secure LeBron James.
How about adding one of his high school teammates to your summer league coaching staff? Talked yesterday about Brandon Weems, assistant GM for the Cavs. Well, Romeo Travis, St. Vincent St. Mary's point guard on LeBron's high school team, joined the Cavs staff for the summer league yesterday. Was pictured at practice up in Cleveland. So just growing that circle of LeBron friends up in Cleveland.
Weems has been coaching for Windhorst. I just listened this morning to Brian Windhorst talk about this because people do that. Weems has been coaching for the Cavs before LeBron went back in 14.
Romeo Travis, not Weems.
I know. So my point is LeBron did not help there. I wonder if he's the one who facilitated that. I think a lot of LeBron's friends, even close friends, yes, does LeBron help them? For sure. I wouldn't be shocked if Romeo Travis found his way on the Cavs staff regardless. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely could
Earned
be
it
the
on
case.
his own. Earned it. That's all.
Still gonna do the whiteboard, connect the dots with the strings.
I love that there's a whiteboard.
Oh, there is.
No, I love
I have one too.
that he did. I'm sure you do.
Mapped it all out.
To Indiana.
Absolutely.
We're going to need a picture of your whiteboard.
You want to win a championship? Go to Indiana.
Yeah, for sure. You don't go to Boston like Paul George. We'll dive into that, I promise, in a second. But I do want to get to Ronaldo because LeBron and Ronaldo, there's a comp there for sure. I think LeBron has a little bit more in the tank than Ronaldo, but he played his final World Cup match yesterday, a 1-0 loss, and man, it's wild because they almost took a 1-0 lead in like the 33rd minute. He had a good shot on goal, nice play by the keeper, but Cristiano Ronaldo leaving, and you can see all of his World Cup accolades there. Most international goals, appearances, World Cup goals for Portugal, and he scored in 6 different FIFA World Cups, which is just wild.
It is just quite the resume, and even though he had been getting up there in age and he wasn't the same player as he was in his prime, it's just the game is going to look so differently without him. As you can see his numbers there in his 6 World Cups, 27 games in total, 11 goals, just an incredible run, and really sad to see him announcing his retirement from Portugal and, Neymar, doing the same for Brazil. We're at the point where all these soccer legends, at least when I grew up with, as a kid, are starting to retire.
Yeah, I mean, there's few active players more synonymous with their country than those two. I mean, Neymar with Brazil and Ronaldo with Portugal. So certainly kind of crazy that the next time we see those two teams play international competition and they won't have those faces on them. But such a great resume, and 6 straight World Cups is just an insane stat. That's the one that jumps out to me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speaking of soccer legends, Christian Pulisic, well, he's trying to be a legend, obviously came up short. We'll dive back into the U.S. men's national team coming up later with our poll question of the day. But we have Reds, we have Bengals. Let's dive into it here. First word on a Tuesday right here on The Crown.
What is The Crown? It's simple, really. Authentic Cincinnati entertainment. Not hot takes from a studio 3 states away. Not national noise pretending to know this city. Rather, bringing a voice to those who call the Queen City home. Where can I watch the Crown shows? Join us live from 7 to 11 a.m. for First Word and 12 to 1 for the Working Lunch on RESN. No live TV? No problem. Stream and interact with all of our content on major podcast, broadcast, and streaming platforms. The Crown is Cincinnati. Loud, passionate, competitive, proud. From early morning sports debates to the business leaders shaping the riverfront, to the fans, stories, moments, and culture that make this place move. Live shows, podcasts, documentaries, digital content built from Cincinnati, for Cincinnati. This is The Crown.
Because if Joe Burrow thinks he's that good and he's prepared against him, he's probably that good.
Exactly. And Joe Burrow just isn't going to say something like that just for the sake of saying it. He truly believes it because Joe also knows his words are going to be consumed across socials, across the NFL world, and everyone's going to dissect what he is saying. So the fact that Joe is saying that means a lot. It carries a lot. And it's also giving that reassurance, I think, to both Dexter and the rest of this locker room and fan base that, yeah, the Bengals went out, got a difference maker, one of the best defensive linemen to add to bolster this defense so they can be a lot better than they were the last 2 years.
Absolutely. And Dexter's production took a step back last year, but the production as an interior defensive lineman is only about half of the battle here. And I think that's what's part of what's so exciting for a lot of people both in the fan base and in the building, including, I assume, Joe. As much as Dex affects everyone else in that defensive line and on the defense, playing at a true nose tackle position over the center, getting double teamed as much as he did, like Marisa just said. But even last year in a down year for the production, it's what he does when he's on the field that makes a huge difference. The Giants, when Dexter was off the field last year, were 32nd in yards per attempt, 31st in sack rate, and 27th in EPA per pass. When Dexter was on the field, they were 8th in yards per attempt, 9th in sack rate, and 10th in EPA per pass. He didn't just make them a fine defense. He took them from a defense ranked in the 30s in a 32-team league to a defense in the top 10. How much he can sway a team when he's on the field for his impact at the interior position is second to none.
This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
First Word rolls on a Tuesday right here on The Crown. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati, and it's time to talk that baseball. That's right, the Reds were off yesterday, but they've been mentioned, and they've been mentioned for reasons that you don't necessarily want to be mentioned for this time of year because you want to be a contender. You want to be buying. You want to be mentioned as a team that's going to add to their roster. Well, the Reds certainly, I think most consider a seller at this point, considering where they're at, where they've been over the past 2+ months. And Jim Bowden, yes, former Reds GM Jim Bowden, writing for The Athletic, mentioning multiple players that other teams could target on the Reds roster as potential targets that could help contenders that teams could be going after. And I thought this was interesting because it's 3 guys we've talked about that we've praised 2 of them. And then the one was supposed to be the answer at the plate for the Reds this season. Spencer Steer mentioned by Jim Bowden as an ideal fit for the Blue Jays. Also Phillies, Guardians, and Mariners as someone that could be interested. And you see it there. And if you look up above Spencer Steer, JJ Someday Blade also mentioned there, who's gone very, very cold after his hot start to the season. He was also mentioned as a potential fit for the Phillies. So let's start there. Steer, Blade, potential pieces that the Reds could move ahead of the deadline.
Two significantly different conversations in my mind between these two players. I think JJ Blade, it's very simply what can you get. I'm incredibly open to trading a player like JJ Blade. You added him this year. You didn't expect him to be this good. There's 2 more years of arbitration team control, which certainly makes it a little bit different of a conversation. But I think what we've seen over the last month or so makes me much more okay with trading JJ Blade than I would have been previously. And part of that is because of what we talked about when he was so good and we were doing all-star segments for JJ Blade, is that he was hitting from both sides of the plate, or not a switch hitter, but hitting both pitchers equally. And that's what's really unraveled over the last month or so. He's hitting only 200 now against lefties. He's strictly a platoon player, which was the expectation when you brought him in. But he made such a big difference to this Reds team throughout the first few months of the season when he wasn't. And I think with Blade at this point, if you could maximize a team that's in contention, that needs a platoon bat in the outfield, you could get a significant return for JJ Blade, in which case I would be incredibly open to answering those phone calls and moving him. Spencer Steer is a much more difficult conversation. I think you'd have to be blown away to take a trade for Spencer Steer at this point.
Yeah, the JJ Blade conversation is interesting because of the hot start that he got off to, and he has not homered since June 15th now, so you're coming up on almost a month, and he's still sitting at 13 home runs, which is still amongst the tops on this Reds team, and so it just goes to show the blistering start that he kind of got off to, in April and in May there too, and he's still on pace to have about 34 home runs, close to 100 ribbies, and about a .230 batting average, and so yeah, you're looking, if you can get some kind of return for that, I think you would have to consider really pulling the trigger. I'm with you on the Spencer Steer conversation there. I just think Steer is so valuable to this team, just not only his versatility, but he seems to be one of the only consistent bats right now for this Reds team. So in my eyes, if you're going to trade Spencer Steer, I think that's just a pure indication that you're kind of punting and you are selling for the season.
Absolutely. I think Steer's the piece of this core that's maybe the only one from that 2023 prospects core that you could move without truly tearing everything down. But I do think it's a start. It's certainly opening the door to shift this timeline from the Hunter and Ellie timeline of the last few years to the Burns and Sal timeline. And I think that's a conversation that'll happen soon. And I think these trades with these players are leading us to a conversation around that at some point soon. There's 4 players on this Reds team with an OPS over league average. 2 of them we just talked about potentially trading. And that's a hard pill to swallow. If you're a Reds team complaining about a lineup that can't consistently produce day in and day out, we're struggling to get base runners and score runs. But you have to trade good players to get good prospects back. And the Reds don't have a ton of high-value players on this roster right now. So it's a tough pill to swallow. But if you're going to sell at the deadline, you have to sell some of those good players.
Yeah, you do. There's no doubt about it. You have to sell some of the good players on the roster. You have to give up something to get something. All of those things. The thing that you just hit on is their biggest weakness. You said how many guys are hitting have an OPS above league average?
Yeah, it's 4 qualified batters.
That's impossible, and yet it's possible. Sell. It is time to sell. I wouldn't be shy about Spencer Steer. Now, is the asking price different than JJ Blade? Sure. But am I willing to listen? You better be willing to listen. And you better be willing to negotiate. And the same thing goes for Eugenio Suarez because, man, what a joke it has been, honestly. There's really no other way to put it. The fact that was like your big free agent get, your big bat. It wasn't JJ Blade. That was just let's take a flyer on a guy, and it's worked out. Suarez hasn't. And so when Jim Bowden mentions the Guardians as a potential fit, well, 2 things come to mind for me. 1, okay, that's interesting. I would listen. 2, the Guardians are really smart, and if he goes up there and hits a bunch of home runs 3.5 hours away from GABP, that would really stink. And so you got to be careful with how you do this if you still believe Suarez has it in him. But if you don't think so, if you think you got it wrong, and you think that this 3-month sample size is what he's going to be, well, then it is time to try to sell and try to get something for him.
I think at this point with Eugenio Suarez, the Reds don't have a choice. It's a one-year deal with this much money on the books, no control after this season and how much he struggled so far. You have to trade Suarez at this point. And certainly there's time before the trade deadline that I guess if he has his best 2 or 3 weeks of the season, then you can change the opinion on that if this Reds team rips off a few wins. But we look at the standings after they play. They're 14 games out in the division. They're more than a handful, 14. And they're more than a handful out in the wild card now as well. This team's far away from legitimate contention. And when you have a player like Suarez who has the history behind him, you could probably get more value than what he's shown on the field this year. That's a decision that seems, in my mind, to be made for the Reds already.
Yeah, I think you have to look into it. You have to entertain it. Just it's been so confusing at times to understand Suarez because he'll have flashes and he'll have games where we had the conversations. Is Suarez back? And then he has other games where he's striking out 3 times at the plate and leaving runners on. And so it's one of those where the inconsistency is the biggest thing for me when it comes to Suarez. And yeah, he was supposed to be this bat that was supposed to come in, be in the middle of the lineup, be that power hitter, and it just hasn't panned out that way.
Suarez appeared in 53 games for the Mariners last year after the trade from the Diamondbacks. And he wasn't great with the Mariners, but he appeared in 53 games. He's appeared in 61 games for the Reds this year. Has 8 home runs for the Reds, had 13 for the Mariners in 53 games. Drew 17 walks, had 38 hits in 8 less games, 45 hits this year. And that's it. Same RBIs, 5 more home runs. The run production was there, nearly the same amount of doubles. Like, he needs to find it somewhere. I do wonder if the Reds are. Is there any thought? Because there was that option. There was that option, Jacob. Like, could he play his way into that? That's what I think is interesting. Because if you give him away and then he plays well down the stretch, and he is the guy that we saw, especially with Arizona last year in the front half of the season, then that option is going to feel sort of valuable. And he is going to be that guy that's like, he's going to get you 35 home runs a year when he's healthy, because health has certainly been a factor with the oblique, no doubt.
No question about it. And that would be the worry about trading him, is that he goes somewhere and produces the way he has throughout the vast majority of his career. But I think looking at the numbers so far this year, there's not a whole lot of belief that can be the case. I mean, even just looking at 2025 as a whole, he was barreling 14.3% of his plate appearances, 14.3% of his hits, which was just below 80th percentile in baseball. Hard hit near 50%, 47.6% hard hit rate in 2025. Those numbers have plummeted this year. 28% hard hit rate so far this year, barreling just 8% of his hits. He is not even making good contact when he does this year, which has been something he's hung his hat on his whole career. This is a guy who's never a high batting average guy. He's never someone who's going to be on base a ton. He's not going to walk a ton, but he's going to hit for power, and he's going to have extra base hits when he makes contact because he hits the ball hard. Those things aren't happening this year, which is why the lack of walks and those poor plate appearances are just being emphasized, because the few good things that usually allow us to ignore that with Suarez aren't taking place.
Why did I call him JJ someday? We'll get into that with our Red Stock Watch coming up at 8. But up next, it's time to dive into our poll question for the first time today. That, as we roll on a Tuesday right here on First Word.
The city lives and breathes sports, and now it finally has a morning show to match. I'm James Rapien, and this is First Word, the only morning sports show in Cincinnati and the place where every day starts. First Word, weekdays 7 to 11, part of the Crown Network.
Well, it wasn't all love for these Bengals coordinators when it comes to this Bleacher Report article, because it named a bunch of future head coaches or potential head coaching candidates, and it was a bunch of coordinators, some experienced, some not so experienced. Do you see Al Golden there? Oh, well, that's not a shock. The Bengals defense is bad, so it makes sense. Do you see Dan Pitcher's name on that list?
It's on the next slide, right? Because it can't have been left off. Right, there has to be another slide.
No, I see former Bengals defensive coach Matt Burke. I see former Bengals cornerbacks coach Vance Joseph. I see Shielhouse and Udinsky, 2 guys that were in the mix for the Browns job. No, I don't see either Bengals coordinator. And so, fair or foul, that Dan Pitcher and Al Gold not being mentioned makes sense. That Bleacher Report got it right?
Yeah, I think it makes somewhat sense for Al Golden. I think it's a big leap for him to go from last year to this year and be in head coaching conversations, though I do think it's possible. It's an argument I was expecting to make with this topic, but I didn't think I'd have to make the same one for Dan Pitcher. I didn't think that was going to be, evidently, according to Bleacher Report, a hot take that he belongs in the same group as the rest of these young coordinators in the league. I understand he doesn't call plays. I understand that that's a huge piece of this for a lot of offensive coordinators that take that leap to being a head coach. But I don't understand how you can look at this Bengals team and, quite frankly, the lack of success over the last 3 years and what he's been able to do as the offensive coordinator in this offense with Joe Burrow and not think that he's worthy of this conversation if the team's healthy and they accomplish their goals this season. I think if the Bengals are in competition for the AFC North with the Ravens and you're making the playoffs and you're winning playoff games and competing for a Super Bowl, then we're not talking about if Dan Pitcher is worth a head coaching job. We're talking about which interview he's probably going to land the job at the end of this season. I think it's a given that he's in these conversations.
Every morning, Cincinnati wakes up and gets to work. Companies are built, deals are made, restaurants open, ideas become careers, and every day the people behind it all sit down at the working lunch. Founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, community leaders, the people building Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, weekdays, noon to 1, only on The Crown.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
Look Alive, Contipelli. I'm James Rapien alongside Jacob Tissot and Marisa Contipelli. I got to keep you guys on your toes. That got you.
Yeah, I didn't expect it.
Got you. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Don't know why that was warranted, but okay.
It wasn't. That's the fun of it. Let's dive into the What's the Word poll question of the day here on First Word. And it involves the U.S. men's national team. We put it to you yesterday on X. Make sure you follow, by the way, at First Word Cincy. Was it a successful World Cup for the U.S. men's national team? 52.2% say no, expected quarterfinal. 36.9% says yes, they went to the round of 16. And 10.9% of you say no, you expected a semifinal trip. Thoughts on those results?
Yeah, I get it. There was so much excitement and hype around this team, but I feel like this was a success in the sense of they did exceed expectations at times. It just, they didn't play well in their final game. And that's the part that I keep getting hung up on, is that they just didn't look competitive compared to Belgium last night. So that's where I felt like I was teetering between the yes and the no. I ultimately voted yes because they did make it to the round of 16. You know, they hit some milestones that they hadn't accomplished before, like, you know, winning their first knockout stage game since 2002 and snapping a 12-game matchless streak against European competition. So there are positives to take from this tournament run. It's just the way that they played last night kind of just still leaves that sour taste in your mouth overall.
Yeah, I think after last night, the question from the whole tournament is what's really changed. I mean, it was a light group that they were favored in, and they won that, and then they were favored over Bosnia, and it was tight, but they won that, and then you get a team that's, you know, in a tier above, and you just completely outclassed for a whole game. So that's why I ended up voting no. I think they could have lost in the round of 16 in a way that made it a yes, but with the way last night went and the tournament as a whole, I have a hard time believing it. So much that was out in front of them that they could have seized, left it on the table. I have a hard time saying it's a success.
It felt like LeBron and the Cavs, I'm doing this for them, against the Hawks.
Oh.
That's how it felt. Like,
yeah.
Toronto, if you want to do that, but I don't even think so. I think it was the Hawks, where it's like, oh, the Hawks, they've won 64 games and have no shot. Nick Hagelin, by the way, FC Cincinnati star, joined us. Was it last week? I don't know. During the World Cup. I couldn't remember if it was last week or the week before. Either way, he joined us in studio, and this is where I default to. Nick's like, yeah, they should make a run. Expectations are high. Here's what Nick had to say before the round of 32.
For me, getting to the quarterfinals is a success, but I think for this group is expected to push beyond, and I think for me a semifinal would be what everyone would hope for.
Semifinal. And that entire interview is on our YouTube channel, but semifinal, and I'm not there. Like, I think quarterfinal, I think if they would have won yesterday, or if they had just competed at a level that wasn't me comparing LeBron and the Cavs steamrolling the Hawks, just crushing them where no one ever thought Jeff Teague had a chance, well, then it would feel a bit different. We'll dive into that more coming up. But up next, it is time for a little Reds stock watch right here on First Word. CB1 calculated DJ Turner on Instagram with the soon post there, and you see it. That's a lot of stacks there. That's a lot. I don't know. Did you count them all?
I was trying. I think it's like $25 million a year, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, he's good with that too. Are the Bengals good with that? I think that's where it leads to. Let's start here. Do we think that this CB1 calculated, the soon Instagram posting it, knowing it's going to get the people going, is a deal looming?
Yes, I feel like it has to be. You're not just going to post that just to post it. The only way you're posting that is if there's like actual talks happening right now, and hopefully we see something get done before training camp, and it doesn't loom into camp in the preseason. But I can't see DJ posting this in there not being negotiations happening.
I thought it'd for sure have to get to me to overreact about a cryptic social media post. But absolutely, I think a contract is close. I saw this.
It's close.
It's close. They've had conversations. They've definitely had conversations already. At least I would think so. It's been the conversation all offseason at this desk that he's the no-brainer number one priority on the extension front. So I think as soon as this reaches the Instagram story slide, it's either close or conversations are progressing or whatever the word is. Something happened in those conversations to have him and his agent post this, and maybe it's wishful thinking, but I hope that thing is getting close.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones. Just your typical 40-year-old Cincinnati girl. Although, no, I'm not married or divorced. I don't have any kids, and I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is the West Side, by the way. But what I do have is a lot of freaking time, and I've been using it well. So come along with me on this grand adventure, because I've been trying all the new around town that you need to know about. This is Nat Tries That.
My name is Jack Crumley. I've been covering news in Cincinnati on the radio for the last 20 years. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, but Cincinnati has always felt like home since day one. I've seen so many things accomplished here, and now, with the Working Lunch, I get to write, read, and talk about them every day. Hard-working people with a drive and a dream. Innovative ideas that help shape this city. Cincinnati is a great city, and I'm excited to tell you about it every day.
This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
We're moving on a Tuesday. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Gonna Miss Talking Soccer Tissot here on First Word. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati. I'm gonna miss it. We might be attending a soccer match here this week, so you never know. Never know. I don't think it's gonna be just gone away. But yeah, nice little debate during the commercial break about that soccer for sure. We'll dive into that coming up and while you slept, but it's time for our Reds stock watch right here on First Word because, well, some stock up, some stock down. The Reds' overall stock, well, it has cratered, and I think our guy Jack Crumley from the Working Lunch buying all of the stock. Maybe not, who knows? But if you need business coverage, make sure you check him out noon to 1 with the Working Lunch every single weekday right here on The Crown. But let's dive into this because JJ Bleday, Tyler Stevenson, Nick Lodolo, and plenty of others all on the radar, all in the mix here for our stock watch. Let's start with the guy I like to call all day has quickly become someday. JJ Someday Bleday. Stock clearly down, clearly falling. And I know you guys have the numbers, but the fact that you went from all day to me to now someday, JJ, I need you to figure it out here because I don't like calling you someday.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is the Reds don't have a lot of all-day players anyway, so when you lose one of them to someday, that's a big issue for this team. JJ Bleday was a huge lottery ticket won by the Reds, at least through the first few months of the season. There was no reasonable expectation that he was going to be hitting in the 2 and 3 hole for multiple months in the middle of the summer while this Reds team was supposed to still be in the hunts for the wild card and for the division, but it's gotten really ugly over the last 2 months, and the thing that really jumps off the page to me is the OPS coming from May. In May, JJ Bleday had an over 1,000 OPS, 1.018. Since May, combined in June and July, he is just slightly better at a 1.051. That's a .61 in June and a 4.40 in July, both over 150 points below league average. Most of those home runs and RBIs came in the first few months, and the walks have taken a dip as well. Bleday, it's been a problem over the last few months, but the Reds don't really have anywhere else to turn. He's still been solid against right-handed pitching, but struggling against lefties, and that's been a story of his career so far that a lot of Reds fans thought had turned a page early this season, but now he's reverting back to that old form. I think he's still been certainly a great piece for the Reds, and you can't overlook his production so far to get the Reds to where they are right now. His record looks a lot worse if he wasn't in this lineup, but stock, I'm not sure it could be much further down for JJ Bleday.
Yeah, definitely trending downward and kind of trending downward fast. Since June 15th, he has 3 RBIs and 1 home run, and this is after the blistering start that he had gotten off to. So it's the question: what happened? What has changed so drastically, in that short time span? Because, like you just said, he was so key and so critical to what this team had accomplished in the month of April. And we were talking about JJ Bleday being an all-star for this team, and it's just I have such a hard time wrapping my head around just what's changed. And there's been times where he's just looked completely lost at the plate, and we've seen this from other Reds players too, just chasing pitches. And his average from June 15th has dropped from 272 down to 233 in less than a month's time span there. So yeah, stock has certainly been falling for JJ, but I'm not out on him. We saw what he could do when he was getting hot. So hoping if the Reds are going to make a second half run, he's going to have to be one of the guys in the middle part of that lineup to get back to form from April.
I think one piece of what might have changed is they rely on him too much. Yeah. The biggest difference in JJ Bleday this year is batting 2 and 3 versus 5, 6, or 7. So far this year, when he's batting second or third in the lineup, he's hitting a .92, significantly below 200, and a guy who's been incredibly productive so far this year. Batting fifth, 430. Batting sixth, 365. Batting seventh, 315. He's a completely different hitter in the bottom half of the lineup, and that's where he was at the beginning of the season when he was so hot. And I think as he's emerged as one of the very few bats on this Reds team that you could rely on a few months ago, they put him up towards the top of the lineup, and it just hasn't been the same because that's not who J.J. Bleday is supposed to be. He's supposed to be in that 5, 6, 7. He's supposed to be one of the outfielders that's just kind of thrown in there to fill a spot because you picked him off of a DFA from the A's. If the A's are DFAing somebody, they probably shouldn't be your best player the next year. And J.J. Bleday has been for a couple months now, and now he's still stuck in that 2-3 spot, and it's not the best for him.
Put him at 5th or 6th. Like, just do that.
Should.
Right? I mean, if it's that simple, and I don't think it is that simple.
No,
I think pitchers.
That's a big gap.
No doubt. And I think part of that is early in the season he hit there, then he moved up. Yeah. Part of it is because he was productive. Pitchers adjust. So he needs to adjust. Hopefully he can, because that's when you become really like a good player. Like if you're a pitcher, hitters adjust to you after you come onto the scene, and can you adjust to that and still be effective? Hitting wise, whatever he did, now the league has caught on, at least to a degree. And maybe he's just slumping a little bit, and it's a mixture there. Well, it's a long season. That's going to happen. They really need him to figure it out. Plus, I like calling you all day. Selfishly, someday isn't as fun to do, JJ. So hopefully you could get back on track. It would certainly be welcome sign for Reds fans. Speaking of a guy that, I don't know. I think there's an interesting discussion about Tyler Stevenson and his future and whether or not he should be a Red a month from now. His stock trending up. He's playing pretty darn well for the Reds, and he's been a bright spot, and he's starting to hit the ball at a high clip. And I think that you look at him and you look at, from a bright spot standpoint, how he's going in the other direction. And it is interesting, though, Marisa, because you see the .233 batting average. It's the same as J.J. Bleday. And one's trending down and one's trending up. And so we get it. This is going to happen. It's the ebbs and flows of a long baseball season, but it does look like Tyler Stevenson has figured it out a bit.
It does, and the .233, you have to look at that, like with a grain of salt at times, because he started off the year. It was rough. Batted just .203 in the month of April and went hitless in the month of March. So I know there's only a couple of games there. He had 9 at bats in March, but still starting off that way, and even in May, still was only about a .221 average for that month. So you really look at what he's done, over the last month and change here, has had much more quality at bats. He now has hit in 5 of his last 6 games too. So he's really been coming on strong, and not only what he's done at the plate. We've talked so often, Jacob, just how important he is behind the plate, and especially when it comes to ABS, he's continued to be one of the best in the league.
Absolutely, and that was the main takeaway from Tyler through the early parts of his career behind the plate here in Cincinnati, was that he wasn't a great defensive catcher. He struggled with framing, he struggled with blocking, and I think that's a huge feather in his cap as well, that he's dove into this ABS system, and he's mastered it in a way that very few catchers in the league have. He's as good as anyone when it comes to challenging balls and strikes, and that has completely changed his value as a catcher. He's always been able to hit, and that's really been shown over the last month or so, and now that he's elevated himself defensively as well with the new system, he's looked at it in a completely different way around this league right now. And I know sample sizes are a huge thing. I'll start small and get bigger, but it's been an awesome month for Tyler Stevenson. In the last 7 games, he's hitting nearly .410 with an on-base percentage of .500. In the last 15, .311, .367. In the last 30 games, Tyler Stevenson's hitting .305 with a .383 on-base percentage. He has been the best Red at the plate since Elly De La Cruz got hurt. And that's not an exaggeration, and that's what he should be. When we've talked about the core of this Reds team over the last few years, Tyler Stevenson's been a name that's been in that group. There's not another catcher coming very soon in this Reds farm system, and there's certainly not another one on the roster right now you believe in on a day-to-day basis. So Tyler Stevenson hitting well is a great, great sign for this Reds team. I do think it might present some uncomfortable conversations on the last year of his contract around the trade deadline. But however, right now he's on the Reds and he's hitting really, really well. That stock is about 90 degrees straight up in the air.
And he's also been reliable. I mean, you just look at his numbers with runners in scoring position. He's batting over .260 on the season, and 18 of his 24 ribbies have come in those situations. And how often are we talking about the Reds leaving runners on base and not taking advantage? So he's one of the guys that you can rely on those situations.
No doubt about it. And, whether or not he's here, I think is an interesting one. But certainly if there's a path back into anything, into relevance for the Reds this year, Tyler Stevenson hitting well is going to be a big part of getting them back there. Pitching well, the Reds need Nick Lodolo to pitch well, and the past couple of outings for him, he's starting to do just that. 11 innings in his past 2 starts against the Brewers and the Orioles. 1 earned run, 6 walks, 8 strikeouts. He's pitching well. Don't look now, but Lodolo might be back.
Certainly looks like it these last 3. It's been incredibly encouraging for Nick Lodolo, someone this Reds rotation has relied on for a while now. He's been the number 2 arm really since he got promoted behind Hunter Green. There's been times in his career where he's discussed as the ace of this rotation, and it certainly didn't look like that to start this year, but over the last 3, he's been phenomenal. So I think the stock has certainly gone up quite a bit for Nick Lodolo over the last 3 starts. I would like the sample size to grow. It feels like every time we get a string of a few good Nick Lodolo starts, there's a bad one that sneaks in there, but it's certainly been more good than that over the last month or so. So certainly buying stock, and the stock's going up in Nick Lodolo right now.
Absolutely on the rise. Just 1 earned run allowed in those last 15 innings pitched, and he did give up the 6 hits in his last outing, so would love to see that number come down a little bit, because the 2 outings before then just gave up 1 hit and 2 hits respectively in each of those times he was on the mound. So yeah, he's definitely a guy where stock is rising, and you need it to rise, especially if you hope to make a move with one of these starting pitchers at the deadline.
Another guy heading into his last year of arbitration next year, Nick Lodolo. So some conversations left to be had around him as well.
Yep, Stevenson, Lodolo, certainly in the mix. Blade in the mix. Will they be here? Will they be Reds? We'll see. If Stevenson gets moved, well, then Jose Trevino will have a bigger role for the Reds. And you mentioned defensive catcher. That's what he is. That's what he's known for. But he's hit safely in 6 of his last 8 appearances. Don't look now. Jose Trevino stock up. Jacob Tissot, he's about to be the everyday catcher.
Yeah, probably not. I would bet against it. I think this extension.
I knew you love it. I knew you love it.
This extension is still one of the ones that boggles my mind more than anything of this recent Reds tenure in extending Jose Trevino. But he has been productive over the last 2 games.
It's like Brian Hayes light.
It is exactly Brian Hayes light. No question about it.
Defense.
You
helps the bullpen more than it helps at the plate.
You want to know the hidden secret that nobody tells you? He's not even good defensively. He struggles at the plate, and he's worse than Tyler Stevenson defensively behind the plate. So for the best defensive catcher in baseball.
He wasn't when they acquired him.
Absolutely. He was great on the Yankees. He hasn't quite been here. And I think the thing with Trevino that I really have a problem with that so far is the power's been great through 2 games so far in July. He's 200 points below league average OPS over his time with the Reds. Nearly 200 points. If you're going to play catcher on a day-to-day basis, you have to hit for some kind of power. I'm not saying you got to be a 40 home run guy, but you got to have some kind of fear in the pitcher to get some extra bases. He has over the last 2 games. Maybe there's an explosion coming, but I'm not buying any Jose Trevino stock.
I'm not sure if I'm buying stock just yet either, but I'm going to extend it the last 4 games he's been out there, 8 for 15, 6 RBI. So, again, at least when you're giving Stevenson an off day, as of late, you're not losing too much production out of the lineup. And I think that's, the most important part of this, when the Reds are looking for some kind of, bat and some positioning at the bottom part of that lineup. At least you're not having a drop off right now with Trevino, but what do you do if he continues to hit the way he has?
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have.
Did you DH him?
Nah, probably not. His first 2 3-hit games of the season were the last 2, so I wouldn't exactly hang my hat on that one. But certainly great to see from Trevino, and he has phenomenal catching gear, so that's a plus.
DH tonight, calling it, just to make you. Oh God,
that'd be fun.
I'm just doing the security guard in Last Dance. You're just shrugging after, Jose Trevino just casually hits 500 between now and the All-Star break.
Be great.
Sign me up.
That's not that crazy.
Sign me up.
Now in the All-Star break, it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's more likely LeBron signs with Golden State.
Well, yeah, that's still a thing. That's still realistic. It's still very much a thing. We will get into LeBron James. We will get into what happened last night in the World Cup and much more. Plus, for the first time today, we will talk Bengals. That in 20 minutes, but While You Slept is next, right here on First Word. Thumbs up.
So I got a question for you guys. Yesterday we had a softball game, as we always do on Thursday. My team goes out to dinner afterwards, and I'm presented with a headline. Casey, if you could pull it up here, that'd be great. Please. So I don't know if all of you saw this. You guys missed this? And while you slept, there is a black bear that has been making its way across Cincinnati's east side. I bring this up here on the show for two reasons. One is to raise awareness for this. You know, if it's brown, lie down. If it's black, fight back. So I just felt like that was really important for Cincinnati residents to understand if you come across this bear. That's absolutely true. But here, I'm going to rank. I need you guys to help me rank things here. What are 4 things that are less likely to see in Cincinnati? Okay, we're going to rank these. We only got 90 seconds to do it. The first one, James Rapien out at lunch with all of us after work. You don't see that very often.
Low.
Okay, well, let me get to the rest of the list. Marisa Contipelli at this desk on a Friday, also very low. Third, Jacob Tissot in a Brendan Sorsby jersey. Or 4, Paul Fritchner in a weight room. I want you to rank all 4 of those things.
I love that he included himself. Because I was like, man, just eviscerating everybody. It's obviously me showing up.
I mean, yeah.
There's absolutely no. I'm going to walk today over to Young Buck Deli, no free ads, but shout out Young Buck Deli, and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to get my chicken parm that they only sell on a Friday, and you're not going to be there. But you never are, so it's okay.
There's no chance. Once. You get me for one.
The thing is with that list, I think they all share likelihood except for one option. I have a Brendan Sorsby Texas Tech jersey on the way.
You totally failed that one. When you said it, I was like,
on the way.
Yeah, he's a big sword. Real or ridiculous that the Bengals feel like they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders going into training camp?
I think it's absolutely real, and I don't really know how it wouldn't be. And that's, I think, the frustration we had about a week ago when we talked about a lot of the people in the national media talking about the Bengals and their Super Bowl chances. Just they seemed to think it was ridiculous at some points. Well, the Bengals are Super Bowl contenders anytime Joe Burrow's on the field, and the fact that they've added to the defense to have legitimate talent, and there's a conversation that we had yesterday on the show that this Bengals defense could be potentially top 10 in the league. If that's the case, there's no question in my mind they're Super Bowl contenders and should be in the short list of Super Bowl favorites. I think the Bengals have certainly done enough to be in that conversation. They belong in the top 7 or so at worst, I would say, teams in this league to win a Super Bowl, and puts them squarely in the conversation at the top of the AFC East for sure, or AFC North for sure. AFC standings, no question, in terms of one of the teams that I think can win the Super Bowl. There's not a lot of other players or quarterbacks in this league that are on Joe Burrow's level. We all know that, and now he has a defense and rest of the roster to match. So I absolutely think the Bengals are square in this mix to win the Super Bowl. I think it's real.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
Will Jacob Tissot eat a waffle today? Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. Jacob?
I like waffles.
All right.
Yeah, we're boycotting waffles today.
Yeah, are you eating a Belgian waffle today?
No, that was like the last week. I've gone a week without a waffle now, like 4 days without a waffle.
So is today it? Regardless, you're moving on?
If I can find a waffle, I'll eat a waffle.
Oof, I'm not ready for waffles yet.
No, tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow. Today it's blueberry pancakes, and Friday it's go Spain.
Okay. All right.
No?
I'm in.
Hey, I'm competitive, and the U.S. men's national team, it would have been nice if they showed up yesterday, but they didn't. Let's get to them and much, much more right now, including the latest on LeBron. Your guy, LeBron, we have the latest on him and his free agency strategy coming up in While You Slept. But first, the U.S. men's national team, their World Cup run came to an end last night in the round of 16. A 4-1 loss to Belgium. No waffles for Christian Pulisic and this U.S. men's national team. It really from the jump, they weren't in control. Game got away early. They never really rallied. There was never a point, I thought, like 75th minute. They had a good shot on goal in the 79th minute. And I was like, oh. But they like celebrated like it went in. And I was like, oh, this doesn't feel great. Like, oh, you got a shot on goal. If it would have went in, that's much different, obviously. But, yeah, the vibes were off from the jump.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, Belgium took a lead 9 minutes into the game. U.S. found a way to tie it, and that tie lasted for about 60 seconds. So not a whole lot of time to really believe in getting a win last night, and really...
Ted Lasso reference.
Yeah.
Believe.
For sure. Yeah, I think everyone just wanted that one to be closer than it was last night.
Yeah, Belgium just looked like the better team. They came out, like you mentioned, seized control early, had all the momentum going into that one. And when you only have 2 shots on goal for the night, probably not going to cut it. U.S. had 0 big chances created. It was just a tough match overall, and especially in that first half, allowing 11 shots to Belgium. They only had allowed 10 first half shots in their 4 previous World Cup games combined. So Belgium came out in attack mode early on, and it showed.
Yeah, as big as, and like if you read the graphic there, defensive error, seal 4-1 defeat. I never felt like the U.S. was in position to score. Like outside of the outside of the one they scored, I can remember. Like you think about Balogun, like and all the talk about it. Like did he ever have a real shot? Like he had one that went over the goal that they thought was touched and it wasn't, and so it wasn't a corner. But like other than that. Never really thought that he had many, like there was not many times where he had the ball, a chance to make a move and have a shot on goal. And Belgium did a really good job, I think, of defending and then turning it into an attack on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the U.S. just never really had a push, never really applied much pressure to Belgium at all in the game. And I think the frustrating thing when you look at the final score there, 4-1, is 2 of those 4 goals are really questionable. I mean, certainly Lukaku's at the end is right as the game was ending. It's a great goal. Certainly not taking anything away from that, but not a great descriptor of the game. And then obviously Matt Freese's gaffe at goalie when he missed the ball there and kicked it behind him, certainly not great either. But 2 things that weren't necessarily in the flow of the game for the U.S. And how much differently would the view of this World Cup and this national team's run be if that final score last night was 2-1? I think holding your own against Belgium is a huge piece of this whole thing, and the fact that they were blown out the way it looks on the scoreboard this morning and just the eye test of domination in that game for one of the top 10 countries in the world just kind of further emphasizes the point that the United States has a little bit ways to go until they're going to be an actual threat in the World Cup.
No, they absolutely do, and you can see that with just, historically, the round of 16 has kind of been this like team's Achilles heel at times too, and you're right, it's the eye test. I mean, 4-1 on the score sheet, yeah, you don't want to, have lost by 3 goals, but eye test wise, they just didn't. They looked lost at times. They just didn't look like the complete team that we had seen in other games during this World Cup run. And so, not a great moment for this team to kind of choose to play its worst game of the tournament, arguably, kind of on the biggest stage when all the eyes were on them.
Yeah, the how matters. Like when you're measuring up against these, like if you lose by a goal and it's a late goal or it goes to penalties or you're competitive, it never felt like they were competitive. And Christian Pulisic taking plenty of criticism today after his performance throughout the World Cup. Here's what he had to say afterward.
The team really inspired a whole nation to rally around you guys and support this team. What did that support mean to this group, and have you been able to reflect on that at this World Cup?
I mean, I'll reflect on it more, but it's been such an incredible journey. Like this summer, I never wanted it to end. So I'm just so thankful to all the American people that supported us and gave us that boost. It was awesome. Something, definitely a summer I'll never forget.
And any thoughts on building on this in the future?
Of course. I mean, yeah, we need to get over that next hurdle and trying to compete and beat the world's best, and that's our next step for us. It wasn't quite there today, but I think we showed a lot of good things that we have potential to do it, but there's still another step that we have to take.
Another step, man, you have like 50,000 steps. The thing is, and whatever, you don't have to be good on a mic, I just want you good on the field. And he wasn't good on the field, as you can see there. Lost possession 11 times in 45 minutes. How healthy was he? It doesn't matter, he was on the field, so that's it, right? To me, I want to hear, I'm so embarrassed that we got dominated like that. And I'm going to work tirelessly when I'm 31, 4 years from now, to find a chance and an opportunity to get out of the round of 16. because we haven't in so long. Like that's what I want to hear, and maybe he is thinking that and saying that, and I still want to hear it. And so not hearing it combined with just stinking up the joint if you're Christian Pulisic throughout the World Cup, that's a tough sell for me when you're supposed to be the star.
Yeah, there was so much talk about Balogun certainly over the last week, leading scorer so far in this World Cup, but no question who the face of United States soccer is. It's Christian Pulisic, and he did not play well in this World Cup, and this was one that had been circled for him for a long time as Captain America and the savior of this team. A lot of great milestones hit in this World Cup, but still losing in the same round that they seem to always lose. So it's incredibly frustrating, and certainly hope that he would do better on this big stage, because it's what fans have been waiting for a long time.
Maybe Captain America before the super soldier serum. There we go. Pre-serum.
Well, Steve Rogers.
The stuff that makes him strong. Yeah. Just for those that are like, what are you talking about? The stuff that made Captain America Captain America.
We should just call him Steve.
Yeah. Man. There we go. Steve.
Steve?
That's how he
played like Steve.
Steve Pulisic. I'm sorry, man, but that's it. And I really wish he would have been like, I'm going to work tirelessly over the next 4 years. Because there was the other quote, and it's going viral today, so we might as well cover it all. Like in June, he was like, yeah, it's just another tournament. And you can do that, and you can say that if you show up and treat it like a different tournament. But when you go out there and it feels just like another tournament for Christian Pulisic and the production isn't there and all those things, well, guess what? You're going to take heat. You're going to take criticism. And one guy that is certainly taken his fair share of criticism over the past 2+ decades is LeBron James. And he's also received his fair share of praise in the NBA world, focused on where LeBron is going to end up. And it's a double-edged sword, certainly, when you're a star. Christian finding that out. LeBron has found that out for many, many years. And, well, guess what? He doesn't plan on meeting with a bunch of teams and taking the tour like he did in 2010, being courted by different teams. Here's Chris Haynes on NBA TV with the latest on LeBron James's free agency plans.
I'm told, as of right now, there are no plans for LeBron to engage in any meetings to allow teams to pitch him on an idea of coming to their prospective teams. What I am told that his agent, Rich Paul, is doing all the background work. He's talking with teams, and then in return, he will relay all the intel and data to LeBron James, in which LeBron will make a decision. So there will be no meetings, no pitches that will allow for teams to sit down with LeBron. LeBron will make his decision based off of the intel that he's receiving from his agent, Rich Paul.
No meetings for LeBron this free agency cycle, and I think that's just more of a formality. I think a lot of these pitches are happening on social media in this era, happening to Rich Paul through emails or phone calls or whatever, just because LeBron's not sitting in the room with all 30 GMs, 29 GMs if you want to eliminate the Lakers. I don't think he's not getting pitches from these teams. There's plenty of avenues to get those pitches to one of the greatest players of all time if you want him on your team this year. So I certainly think there's still, avenues to get your thoughts across, and I don't think it's really been whittled down too much for LeBron. I think the people that have always believed he's going to end up in Cleveland for a retirement tour still believe that. I think there's a big group that also believes all these other teams are waiting to make one more big move to lure him in. So one of those two is probably going to happen, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's interesting to listen to what we just did because, if he might not be in those meetings directly, to your point, it doesn't mean like he's not getting all that information. He's not engaged in some way, even if it's just between him and his agent and his camp, back home too. So, it'll be interesting to see just how this all continues to unfold and how long are we going to have to be on LeBron watch for? Is this going to play out all summer? It almost kind of feels like it's trending that way.
I'm in. Just have it last all summer.
Yeah, it may last longer. I think he has a pretty darn good idea. Like, I don't think it's decided. I think if it was decided, he would just do it and then he would go on vacation and do his thing.
Yeah.
I think that there's something that's holding him back from doing it, and maybe it's a move, maybe it's not, maybe it's evaluating what's going to happen in Philly or one of these other places. I'm not sure, but I think it is really interesting that he's taking this approach. That the reports out there that he's at least open to making less than $4 million on the veteran minimum. There are teams, Cavaliers, Warriors, that can offer over $15 million with the mid-level exception. And he's going to make less than he's ever made. And so I think he feels like, hey, I can take my time. They don't need that max salary slot. Fine. Well, we'll see what these teams do. I know this, whether it's the Cavs, the Warriors, any of these teams, I would be trying to do what I can to get that commitment. And so if it's make a trade, if it's make a move, if it's sign this guy, if it's do whatever, that's what I'd be trying to do to make sure that I would secure LeBron James.
How about adding one of his high school teammates to your summer league coaching staff? Talked yesterday about Brandon Weems, assistant GM for the Cavs. Well, Romeo Travis, St. Vincent St. Mary's point guard on LeBron's high school team, joined the Cavs staff for the summer league yesterday. Was pictured at practice up in Cleveland. So just growing that circle of LeBron friends up in Cleveland.
Weems has been coaching for Windhorst. I just listened this morning to Brian Windhorst talk about this because people do that. Weems has been coaching for the Cavs before LeBron went back in 14.
Romeo Travis, not Weems.
I know. So my point is LeBron did not help there. I wonder if he's the one who facilitated that. I think a lot of LeBron's friends, even close friends, yes, does LeBron help them? For sure. I wouldn't be shocked if Romeo Travis found his way on the Cavs staff regardless. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely could
Earned
be
it
the
on
case.
his own. Earned it. That's all.
Still gonna do the whiteboard, connect the dots with the strings.
I love that there's a whiteboard.
Oh, there is.
No, I love
I have one too.
that he did. I'm sure you do.
Mapped it all out.
To Indiana.
Absolutely.
We're going to need a picture of your whiteboard.
You want to win a championship? Go to Indiana.
Yeah, for sure. You don't go to Boston like Paul George. We'll dive into that, I promise, in a second. But I do want to get to Ronaldo because LeBron and Ronaldo, there's a comp there for sure. I think LeBron has a little bit more in the tank than Ronaldo, but he played his final World Cup match yesterday, a 1-0 loss, and man, it's wild because they almost took a 1-0 lead in like the 33rd minute. He had a good shot on goal, nice play by the keeper, but Cristiano Ronaldo leaving, and you can see all of his World Cup accolades there. Most international goals, appearances, World Cup goals for Portugal, and he scored in 6 different FIFA World Cups, which is just wild.
It is just quite the resume, and even though he had been getting up there in age and he wasn't the same player as he was in his prime, it's just the game is going to look so differently without him. As you can see his numbers there in his 6 World Cups, 27 games in total, 11 goals, just an incredible run, and really sad to see him announcing his retirement from Portugal and, Neymar, doing the same for Brazil. We're at the point where all these soccer legends, at least when I grew up with, as a kid, are starting to retire.
Yeah, I mean, there's few active players more synonymous with their country than those two. I mean, Neymar with Brazil and Ronaldo with Portugal. So certainly kind of crazy that the next time we see those two teams play international competition and they won't have those faces on them. But such a great resume, and 6 straight World Cups is just an insane stat. That's the one that jumps out to me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speaking of soccer legends, Christian Pulisic, well, he's trying to be a legend. Obviously came up short. We'll dive back into the U.S. men's national team coming up later with our poll question of the day. But we have Reds, we have Bengals. Let's dive into it here. First word on a Tuesday right here on The Crowd. And so when I see off-season winners lists, I always expect, just naturally, the Bengals will be on it. Maybe they're not 1 or 2. The Bengals are going to be on the list. They'll be in the top 5, certainly, because they should be. They added some key pieces. It would make sense. Well, not according to Josh Edwards. Let's take a look at this list here, courtesy of CBS Sports, where, the Bengals they didn't even have the best offseason for an Ohio team? That, according to this CBS Sports ranking, the Browns lead the way, followed by the Raiders, Jets, Rams, Titans, and we're going to break this down. Then the Chiefs, Panthers, Commanders, Texans, 49ers. Look, Jacob, when I see this, the fact that the Bengals are nowhere to be found is shocking to me, especially when you look at a lot of those teams. I'd be stunned if the Bengals weren't far better than them. But when you look at where they were last year, a 6-win team, there's a reason expectations are really high. There's a reason why they're right there with the Ravens in the mix to win the AFC North from an odds standpoint. It's because they added a lot of pieces this offseason. I don't know how you can look at that and say they didn't have a top 10 offseason for what they did this offseason.
So, over, under 3,000 yards receiving for both Jamar and T combined this season. Oh, come on.
I can't. How
Come
am I?
on.
You guys.
You? What do you mean, you guys?
3,000 yards. The most that they've ever combined in their careers
2024.
together, exactly, was just over 2,600. So you're telling me, where are these other 400 yards coming from? When you have an offense that needs to feed Mike Gesicki, you need to feed. You're not going to feed Mike Gesicki?
Not if I can feed T and Jamar.
But
Okay.
needs is
T-
relative. Needs, not Mike. Don't make it about Mike. The word needs is what stood out.
Well, you
to
need
me.
to feed Chase Brown. That I will stand by that one.
That's fair.
But
He's a
no,
running
you
back.
have so many offensive, options on this team. T and Jamar are going to be double teamed at times too. So there's that factor in it as well.
doubt.
However, this is also a team where we're expecting to be good, to be better this season, to be playing ahead with leads. They're going to be running the ball a lot more later in games. At least I'm expecting them to. I'm hoping they are, because if they're down and they're throwing, then there are other problems at hand. I realistically don't see them getting over that 3,000 mark. I could see them getting between 2,700, 2,800, but not over 3.
So you think they're going to get really close? And
Yeah,
just
I
not
think
get
they'll be close. I just don't think they'll get over.
Cincinnati, home to more than a dozen Fortune 500 companies. A city where you know someone who knows someone, and you're in business. Every weekday at noon, The Working Lunch brings you headlines from local businesses, along with exclusive interviews with owners and local leaders. East Side, West Side, northern suburbs, downtown over the Rhine, and northern Kentucky. Real conversations, real Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley. Weekdays at noon, only on The Crown.
This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati, every single weekday, 7 to 11.
Right here on The Crown.
Right here on The Crown. I can't do it. You get me every time. When you do that, I should just roll. I'll do it next time.
You keep us
7
on
to
our toes,
11,
we keep you on your toes.
Always open.
Right here on The Crown.
Let's dive into some Cincinnati Bengals talk, or Cincinnati Bengals conversation, and some talk on the Bengals for the first time today. First time today, we're talking Bengals, and boy, oh boy, is Jacob excited, because we've talked a lot of soccer. He loves soccer, and now he's excited to talk Bengals. Pro Football Focus named their all-time Bengals offense. They've been around for 2 decades, which is close to Jacob. They're catching you. PFF really close to you, my man.
I don't think they'll catch me, because I don't think that's how age works.
It's pretty close. Regardless, they're trying to catch you. Joe Burrow topping Andy Dalton. I'm really stunned by that one. Joe Mixon, not stunned by that one either. AJ Green, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Eifert beating out. What? That's a surprise.
Gotta feed Mike.
Yeah, beating out Mike Gesicki. No, Mike Gesicki on there as well. Andrew Whitworth, Clint Bowling, Kyle Cook, Kevin Zeitler, Andre Smith. Any qualms with the PFF all-time Bengals offense? This is from 2006 to 2026.
My qualm isn't even a real qualm. It's just that I lost my mind before reading the full list. I got 4 names down on this list and thought PFF left Jamar Chase out of the Bengals' all-time receiving core, and I lost my mind until I saw the slot listing. I think this is probably the best build of a 3-receiver set of this time frame for the Bengals, to have Jamar in the slot with T and AJ Green. I love it, but to not have Jamar listed as one of just the plain receivers rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, did they have to distinguish it like that? Couldn't they
receivers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was a little odd too, but no, I have no issues with this list. I feel like PFF got it right. I mean, it's hard to argue anyone other, I think, than those top 5 guys on this list when you look at Burrow and then his skill positions there too. It's some of the best in Bengals history, and I feel like it'll be that way for a while. Oh, you disagree?
You got some more pushback?
From a PFF standpoint, is it a cumulative stats or is it just overall grade? Like, how are they? I assume it's like overall grade.
I believe that's how their all PFF teams work.
It's just overall grade. Because you could, like, cumulative do this and manipulate it in a certain way if you wanted to. That being said, like, the PFF era was 2006. So, like, 06 Chad was the best receiver maybe in football.
Yeah.
09 Chad had over 1,000 yards. 07 Chad was the best receiver in football, potentially, not named Randy Moss, who was insane that year. And so, like, 06, 07, 09 Chad, is that better than T. Higgins? Yes. Not close. And it isn't close. Now, T may get there this year, but 06, 07 Chad, Google him, my man, because it was nasty. He's unbelievable. So I think Chad should be there. I also think whoever put these rankings together probably were thinking all the way back then. So that's one that stands out to me. I think Willie Anderson, 06. Like, is Willie in the mix there? It's not as long, but, like, Willie Anderson was still good in 06. And so I'd have to, like, you'd have to go look and see. But I don't remember Willie Anderson being a liability for the Bengals in 06. And so Andre Smith was here for a long time. And he had some solid years. I don't think he's a bust. He played his way out of being a bust early in his career. And he was a solid player for the Bengals for many, many years. But Willie Anderson was awesome. And so 06 Willie versus the Andre Smith, like, that one's interesting. Amarius Mims is probably a year away from having a decent case there. So there are some different ones, but leave it to me to make the wide receiver argument. And I'm not trying to be mean to T, but look at those 06 Chad numbers. T. Higgins hasn't gotten close to those, and he did have T.J. Hushman's out on his team. It wasn't like it was just the Chad show. He had another top receiver.
Yeah, and even the whole time that Chad's in Cincinnati in that era of PFF, it's more productive than T. Higgins was in a time where you're not throwing the ball as much. And part of that is injuries, and part of that's just who's a better receiver when they're on the field. And at this point, I mean, 06 was Ochocinco's career high in yards, over 1,300, and then he had 2 other 1,000-yard seasons with the Bengals in this time frame. So 3,000-yard seasons for Chad in that time frame. I think it's certainly a valid argument to have him on this list as well. And then I guess you just you keep Jamar in the slot and you put him in for T, or you just do away with the slot altogether and just list 3 receivers. I think that makes sense. Absolutely. I don't think it's too crazy to say T belongs in there as well, though. I think if he's healthy and playing, which I understand is a huge part of this, but I think the numbers are pretty close if T. Higgins is playing all the games over these last few seasons, Chad, at least from a 1,000-yard standpoint.
Led the NFL in receiving in 2006.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so just going back to the PFF article, it says that they didn't list Chad over T because over half of his yards and half of his All-Pro and Pro Bowl appearances occurred before the PFF era. So I guess they're taking the whole body of work, and I guess like years-wise.
But if you just go 06 to 10, is it still better than this 5 years of T?
And so Chad dealt with the shoulder injury in 08. Remember it well. It was the worst year ever. It was Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback. Carson Palmer had the elbow injury. It was just a nightmare year where they won a few games down the stretch. And then 09 was good. And then 2010 was fine numbers-wise, but it was just an ugly year, right, where that era was coming to an end. But overall, that's a tough one. That's a tough sell for me. And T will get there. I don't think he is there. So that's one. Outside of that, there aren't many. And we'll dive into the defensive one that PFF did later this week. But let's pull up the roster again here, Gabe, because I just, looking at it, I do think it's pretty cut and dry. And part of it is, with a lot of this offense, it is this era. Mm-hmm. And I think Chase Brown, within a year, like if he goes off, we did the over-under with Chase Brown yesterday. If he has 1,500 yards from scrimmage, I think he moves past Joe Mixon. Like I think it's in that mix production-wise where he could do that, because it would be 3 straight years of 1,300 plus yards from scrimmage. Joe Burrow, no-brainer. A.J. Green, obviously no-brainer. We talked about T plenty. The slot wide receiver thing is hilarious, because if you're talking about true slot, it would probably be T.J., but Tyler Boyd would have a real argument there. And so that's where it gets interesting. But obviously you have to have Jamar. The tight end one, it's weird, wild, whatever you want to say, but I think Drew Sample should get some consideration. I'm not going to lie to you because of the culmination
over Mike?
Stats. Yes, over Mike, honestly. But
I have a huge question about Mike on this list, just because it's really only 1 year of Bengals production.
Yeah. I was surprised. Jermaine Gresham should be ahead, probably. Even over Eifert. Eifert's ceiling in 15 was awesome.
He was just so good when he was healthy.
No doubt, but he just wasn't.
Correct.
Tyler Eifert was just really hurt, and Jermaine Gresham, when he was here, it's definitely ahead of Gesicki. So that's another one. I'm not going to, whatever. It's fine, but it's not the end of the world that you put Mike Gesicki there. But Jermaine Gresham has done more for the Bengals in his time than Gesicki has done so far in 2 seasons. That could obviously change this year.
I want to go back to the Joe Mixon, Chase Brown real quick. It did, because I think Chase has a little bit ways to go. I mean, you look at Mixon's numbers, 3rd most rushing yards in team history at over 6,400. Chase trails that by over 4,000. And I mean, just Joe's time in Cincinnati, he had 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons over 1,400 scrimmage yards. I think Chase needs a couple more seasons of that consistency to get there before I think he would overtake Joe on that list.
And it's close, and you're right with the Pro Bowls. Joe Mixon certainly has the draft pedigree as well. If Chase Brown signs an extension, then it's opening it up for sure. Right. And part of it for me, and this is the unfortunate part for Joe, he gets drafted in 17. And so he's getting the tail end of Andy, the tail end of Marvin, and has multiple offensive coordinators, and it was really weird there. That coaching staff was limping to the finish. And they limped to the finish, and then Zach gets here, and Zach's trying to figure it out, and it takes a year. And then Joe gets hurt in 2020 when they finally get Joe Burrow. And then in 2021, Joe Burrow and this offense is ready to go, and Joe has his best season. And then he started to decline, and he wasn't the same player. Still had a 1,000-yard season after that, but wasn't the same guy. And one of the big what-ifs, I think, of Mixon is, man, if he had just been drafted in 19, a year before Burrow's drafted, and that's just the unfortunate part of it, because I don't think he maximized his potential given the state of the offensive line, given everything that went into, because he walked right into the post-Andrew Whitworth, post Kevin Zeitler, 2 guys on this list, that era of the offensive line where they were really searching for multiple years to find some stability there.
I think because of those first few years and then how it ended, where a big part of the fan base was ready to move on to Chase Brown, mars kind of Joe Mixon's Bengals tenure, at least right now, while we're still so close to it as a fan base. I think it's great that he's on this list, and certainly, in my opinion, the best Bengals running back of this era. But Chase Brown's going to get there if he gets the extension. And that's just kind of where I'm at with him and his production. So much faith in his floor and what he provides to this team. I think he's a 1,000-yard rusher, pushing 400-plus receiving yards, which would certainly, over 2-3 years of consistent production, would put him, if not above Joe Mixon, certainly squarely in that conversation. But what Mixon even did before the roster flipped and the coaching staff flipped, being a consistent option in this backfield, is a huge piece of what he means to this organization in the era that they're talking about here.
Yep, there's no doubt. I think there's a little more here. I think we have a little more here. We'll dive into the defense later this week as well. I can't wait to tell T that he shouldn't be ahead of Chad. I can't wait, T. Hopefully he's watching. Up next are Spaceball getting it wrong with these pitchers. We're going to dive into that coming up next as First Word rolls on right here on The Crown.
This city has always had something to prove. While the rest of the country talked about us, we built our own voice. Blue collar, underdogs, built differently, overlooked, talked about like we were supposed to stay quiet. But that was never who we were, because this city doesn't wait for permission. And neither do we. And now, for the first time, Cincinnati has a network built in its image, because the biggest stories in this city deserve more than highlights. This isn't cable television. This isn't national media. This is ours. This is The Crown.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, a Cincinnati native, and I have been in media for about 10 years now. Formerly on the radio here in Cincinnati, I grew my love and obsession with finding all things fun in Cincinnati and have now made it my life. I'm originally from the West Side here, and then I've pretty much been a downtown girl ever since college. But I did leave for 7 years, and during that time, I really grew and harnessed and cut my teeth doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, learning how to ski in Colorado, and now I'm back here in Cincinnati, driven by curiosity and grounded by family.
Vacation edition, the lounge edition of Countdown.
I'm getting a good stretch.
Yeah, there we go. You need it, man.
I know.
You are not the most malleable.
That's better than the other options you could have went with.
Yeah, probably. I was trying to figure out a good one. All right, let's dive into basketball. We're going to stick with basketball.
This one's yours.
This is my favorite
Unbelievable.
thing ever. Shaquille O'Neal trying to test his reaction time. This I mean, it's just not even close, Shaq. My man, what are you playing? Yay!
Play it again, Gabe. Hold on.
Let that run for a minute, because this is my favorite thing. Man, he's so dialed. And look,
the best is number
this one,
whatever, like 7 or 8, where he doesn't even look.
Oh gosh. Oh man, I'm gonna get you. Man. I'm gonna get you.
No, this one. And he doesn't even turn. He didn't even see it. This is the best, or one of the best centers of all time. No reaction time.
I'm Paul Fritchner. I'm a 2019 graduate of Xavier University, and I've been covering college basketball for 10 years here in the Cincinnati area. I'm the host of the Rebound Rundown, a daily college basketball podcast during the season and a weekly show in the off-season covering everything you need to know about your favorite team. And if you're not a fan of a team here in Cincinnati, I have you covered from the national perspective as well. Follow it on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
First Word rolls on. Plenty to dive into here, and we're going to dive into some Reds baseball, get some insight on the top prospects within the farm system as well, with Sam Dykstra of MLB Pipeline coming up at 9:15. But before we do that, got to dive into this, because Yuri Perez was pulled after 7, not 5, not 6, 7 perfect innings, had 92 pitches. And boy, oh boy, I think analytical Jacob over here is going to have some thoughts on it. Yeah, I'm looking at you.
Not with this.
Fair or foul, they should have pulled him to save his arm after 7 perfect innings.
So foul. Foul.
I got so scared you were going to say fair there.
Not with this. I'm an analytics guy. I'm underlying numbers. I love them all. Not with this.
No. Okay.
I don't care about no-hitters whatsoever. Pull them if it's a no-hitter. It's a perfect game through 7 innings. Let him finish it. We're talking about history. Mm-hmm. In a game that's built on history. I mean, everything in baseball is history-based and record-based. And this is something that he would remember and have associated with the organization for the rest of his life. You got to let him finish these games.
It would have been the first perfect game in Marlins history.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. We talk about innings limits and stuff. And the crowd reacted as well. So he's pitching. He's rolling against the Athletics. And the crowd reacting after they pulled him, and he's just sitting there. Look.
And this is what tells me everyone's on the same page here. Because this game's not being played in Miami. This game's being played in Sacramento. And the A's fans are mad that they're not giving him a perfect game.
Shame. Yeah, throwing shame on. And they should. They should. Because if I'm an A's fan, you don't have a ton to cheer for anyway. And yeah, your team's on the receiving end. You get to witness history.
Yes.
It's the whole point of it. So, yeah, I would have left him in. They should have left him in. They didn't leave him in. And I am glad that Jacob Tissot, I thought he was for sure going to be like, this is what you got to do. You got to, oh, well, you're a pull Chase Burns guy. You want to send Chase Burns to spring training right now.
Not if he's throwing a perfect game.
Oh, innings limit. He
Absolutely.
Just, yeah, you're protecting him.
All
You're
in
putting
on
him
that.
you're putting him in a bubble. Bubble Burns. You want him to be Bubble Burns.
That's the conversation a lot of people are having off of this, is that young pitchers are too protected. I think those are two very different conversations. Let them finish a perfect game. Keep protecting young pitchers.
Perez wasn't even at his season high pitch count wise yet. He still had 10 pitches, so he would have reached that. So the manager spoke that they were, looking beyond this year and to protect him and his arm. He was only this third game back from an injury, but no, at the end of the day, this was an opportunity to make history, and the Marlins let it go by.
Not the first time something like this has happened with Perez. They pulled him in the 7th inning of a no-hitter last year. So same story for the Marlins.
And Perez became the third pitcher since 1900 to be pulled from a perfect game of 7 innings or more, joining Rich Hill in 2016 and Clayton Kershaw in 2022.
And then they proceeded to give up 5 runs, the bullpen did, afterwards. So, it collapsed anyway.
Yeah.
You can't collapse anyway after doing that, and that's it. The bullpen feels a bunch of pressure now, and it doesn't make sense. And that's the reality there. I'm glad we're all in agreement here. I was surprised by him.
No. Perfect games.
We're going to continue the Reds conversation next. Plenty to dive into. Is it time to sell? Plus, Sam Dykstra of MLB Pipeline. That and more as First Word rolls on a Tuesday right here on The Crown.
Cincinnati, Ohio. We welcome you from Cincinnati, Ohio. Nick Hadlin, the fan favorite, to put it away. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Oh, what a catch. The Cincinnati Kids score. What a percentage. Baylor scores and the Reds win.
That being said, that's what makes this free agency period so interesting is LeBron, he's going to take less. He's not going to get a max deal. Is he waiting for the Cavaliers to add and do the Jaylen Brown? Like, if they could have added Jaylen Brown, is LeBron a Cav right now?
Potentially.
It would be done in my mind.
Yeah, right? So, that's what I think is interesting now is he's watching these teams, and if he's willing to sign for less than he's ever signed before from a salary standpoint, what are these teams willing to do to get that deal done and then also get LeBron in town?
No, it's a great question, and that's what makes me wonder, how long is this going to be dragged out when on LeBron watch, and is he really going to wait until the very end of free agency once everything kind of falls into place for all these other teams to make his movement and to pick where he wants to play next?
And so much of the conversation that, his agent, Rich Paul, is meeting with every team in the league until the teams are dropping out of contention for him, and so far we've seen the Spurs and the Lakers be removed from that watch, but I have a hard time believing LeBron's actually talking to every team. Right. He's not going to, go play for Memphis or some of these small market teams. It's not on the table in my mind. So I think it's really a 5 or 6 team race with 3 clearly ahead, and it's the 3 everyone's been talking about. It's Miami, Cleveland, and Golden State, with a couple others throwing their hat in the ring. Denver was mentioned obviously by Wendy yesterday, and I think Sixers would be really, really fun. But I still just imagine that those 3 are worlds ahead of the other 27 in the league when you're looking at where LeBron will play next year.
Cincinnati, home to more than a dozen Fortune 500 companies. A city where you know someone who knows someone, and you're in business. Every weekday at noon, The Working Lunch brings you headlines from local businesses, along with exclusive interviews with owners and local leaders. East Side, West Side, northern suburbs, downtown over the Rhine, and northern Kentucky. Real conversations, real Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, weekdays at noon, only on The Crown.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
Welcome to First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show, breaking down the biggest moments and the stories shaping Cincinnati sports with analysis that cuts through. First Word, setting the agenda in Cincinnati sports.
We set the agenda every weekday morning, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. This is First Word. Plenty to dive into. We'll be joined by Sam Dykstra of MLB Pipeline to talk all things Reds prospects and their loaded, absolutely loaded farm system, Jacob. Loaded. Locked and loaded.
Three of them.
Locked and loaded.
One of which is already here.
We'll dive into that with Sam as he released his top 100 last week. So excited to have Sam on the show. But before we do that, our good buddy Jim Bowden of The Athletic wrote about the Reds, had some interesting comments about the Reds. Should they be buyers? Should they be sellers? Well, Jim Bowden thinks the Reds should be sellers at the deadline. And look, I'm not shocked at this. I don't think anyone should be, given the past 2+ months. But here's what Bowden wrote. He said, the Reds need another impact bat, preferably in the outfield. But the way they're playing right now, they're much better off being sellers. Best fit, sell. Buy or sell that the Reds should sell.
Well, the Reds should sell. So does that mean I buy?
You're buying that they should sell.
Okay, yeah, I'm buying. They should not.
Okay.
Ship everything out of Great American Ballpark. Yes. I mean, this team.
Everything.
We sit up here after one game and talk about that the lineup can't produce. And then we sit up here after the next game and talk about we only believe in 2 of the 5 starting pitchers. And then we sit up here the next game and talk about the bullpen can't win any games unless they have a lead coming in at the end of the game. So what if this team is close to contention? Because I need to establish that before I can talk about buying. Because you're not going to be able to add to the bullpen and to the rotation and to the lineup and to the outfield and to the corner infield and all these pieces that the Reds need MLB players. You can't do it. So unless the Reds have something that you think is already at that level, then there's no reason, in my opinion, to buy. I think this team's decision has been made over the last 2 months. They've been the worst team in baseball for 2 months now, and that has made their decision for them. It's almost impossible, in my mind, to have this so clearly decided in July when you started the way the Reds did, 20-11 out of the gates, and now it's really hard for me to see a path toward the trade deadline where the Reds are buyers unless there's some really shocking turnarounds in the not the second half, but in the next 2 weeks, essentially. So, yeah, I'm buying this absolutely, and the Reds need to sell.
Yeah, this is, it's tough. And I mean, you just look at their schedule before the trade deadline and things only are going to continue to get harder for this team. 6 out of their next 7 series and opponents are over 500. And this is a team that has struggled against teams with winning records on the season, only being 20-33 on the year against teams that have a 500 or better winning percentage. So we're going to find out here real soon based on these next couple series, and especially going into the All-Star break, having to take on Philadelphia and then the Cubs. And we've talked so often, as you just mentioned, about, this team struggling at different points too. It goes back to bat production and lineup for me. I mean, this team has been consistently in the negative this season in the run differential. And yeah, I mean, it's tough to overcome when you're not scoring enough runs.
Yeah, I don't really see the only way you could say buy, and there is a path to it, and this is it. You get a young, controllable bat that fits that outfield element, and you're giving up, maybe you're giving up a prospect, but you're giving up one of these guys that we're talking about selling. How doable is that? It's possible. It has happened. The Trevor Bauer trade was an example of that. 6 years ago, they trade Yasiel Puig, and they trade a prospect, and they get back. It's a three-way trade, and they get back Trevor Bauer. And it really wasn't for that year. It was for the year after, and it helped them, and it put them in position to do just that and make a run in 2020 during that COVID year where he wins the Cy Young in the shortened year, and the Reds make the playoffs, all those things. But, like, it's a unique circumstance where the Guardians were trying to do one thing, and the Reds were trying to do one thing, and the Padres were in the mix, and everything that was involved there. Hard to pull off. And so if it's buy or sell, it's very obvious what they should do. They are a bad baseball team. They're bad. And they need to fix a lot of things. Hitting is, I'm glad Jim Bowden mentioned it, because they need more hitting. That's just, it is, I am sick and tired of, one, Terry Francona should be sick and tired of it because he dealt with this in Cleveland for a decade. You can't produce runs. You need to be able to do that. And I get it. You need starting pitching, and you can't have enough starting pitching. That's where I would look at. Nick Lodolo, Brady Singer. What can I get for those two guys? Both of those guys would be on the block. Starting pitching is hard to come by. I think both guys could be moved. Maybe they can get you something back of decent value, and maybe it is just prospects for the future. But let's be honest here. Right now, where they're at, I don't think Lodolo is a big part of the future. Singer certainly isn't after this year. Get something for those guys. And there are other guys that we could talk about, but those two certainly stand out.
Absolutely. They're in my list, no doubt. But there's 5 names to me that the Reds absolutely have to move. And then you can expand that list to ones that could be coin flips or questions. But these 5...
Hold on 1 second. Just pause. Just stay right there. Like the U.S. men's national team, just stop playing defense. I'd be stunned if they trade 5 players. Go.
Correct.
Go.
But if you take calls on all 5, you can then move 3. If your list is much shorter, you're operating with a much smaller list of players to move, and you only trade 1 or 2 of them. That's not what this Reds team should do. If you're taking calls on 5 guys, 6 guys.
I just want to see if it would work a second time. Go.
Yeah, if you're taking calls on 5 guys, 6 guys, the hope would be that you can move 3 or 4 of them instead of taking calls on 3 and move in 1. The 5 for me that make the most sense this year are Suarez, Nate Lowe, Brady Singer, Pagan, and then 1 of Burke or Ferguson.
Okay.
Those are all guys without significant control left. That leaves
you didn't say Lodolo or Singer.
I said Singer.
Yeah, okay.
Lodolo is a little tougher for me because I'm not entirely convinced you can get more value for him now than in the offseason if he finishes this season really well.
I would still take the calls now, though.
Absolutely take the calls.
Because he's the guy that you might be able to get the controllable outfield bat.
For sure.
Like, you're not getting that for Nat
Now,
Lowe.
would you take
and
less?
I said Nat on purpose.
Would you take less in a return overall for a Nick Lodolo package for a guy who's maybe closer to the majors or better prospects that are potentially further away? Because I think with a player like Lodolo, that is the question the Reds are going to have to ask.
Me? I would always want the best player because that's it. This desperate... That's the Gavin Lux trade.
Exactly. Which we will get into next segment.
Yeah, like, this guy's going to help right now. Well, if you do that, you really tie yourself. Baseball is different than football in this way. Like, you can't be like, one, you're not trading draft picks. You're trading prospects and how far away are they and all those things. And that's like the draft picks that you're trading. You got to be able to get guys that are going to be able to contribute and be the next Sal Stewart and be the next insert the guy that you think can be a building block because they just don't have enough building blocks. Like, look at the lineup. It's like, how many of these guys are going to be here in 2 years? How many of these guys should be here in 2 years? Going to and should. And there aren't many. Like, Matt McClain shouldn't be. That's a guy I'd take calls on. I don't think anyone's going to give you anything. But guess what? Yeah. Hey, maybe someone likes Matty Ice. Maybe someone likes Matty Ice. And, yeah, okay. I'll take that. So, yeah, like, I would be open to a lot of guys, even guys like that. Can Brian Hayes does he have any trade value?
There's almost no way. Are we even sure Brian Hayes can play right now? He had 2 games in single A over the weekend, then was scratched from the lineup on Sunday before he was supposed to play a full game at third base. So I don't know where he's at entirely with this injury thing as well. And it's important to remember that this injury that sent him to the IL was an injury he had in Pittsburgh 5 years ago. So I think there's a big question mark there as well. I think when you're looking at this Reds team, the only thing that they could do at this deadline that it would be bad in terms of rebuilding this roster is to kind of straddle it, to hold on to some pieces, try to stay in the fight in the second half while still trading some. Go all in. Trade everything that you can trade. Tear it down.
I'm gonna break some news.
Attack 27 and 28.
I'm going to break some news.
They love sitting on the fence, and they're going to do it again. They just shouldn't. That's why they are where they're at right now.
Go, Marisa. No, I think break some news. Definitely going to be
It's
on
exactly
that
what
fence.
they're going to do.
They'll trade Suarez but keep this guy, or they'll trade Blade but keep Suarez in low, because just in case things heat up, like that's what's going to. They're not trading five. When you said five guys, I was like, oh.
Like, I don't think they're going to trade five guys.
No, I know, but they should.
Yes, we're talking about who they should trade. It's longer than that.
Probably, and we can dive into that. Like, there's plenty of time to, but like. That's what's so tough here is, do they realize how bad they are and how far away they are?
That's the question.
Like, it's a very U.S. men's national team that, like, light years away from Belgium, and we saw it yesterday, even with the errors. Like, it doesn't feel close, right? The Reds are not close, and they haven't been close. And that 2011, that was a pipe dream. That was a dream that's so far long ago that doesn't matter, and it wasn't sustainable. It didn't feel sustainable, and they've been awful. They've been the worst team in baseball since.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating to see, because this is the core that should have flipped everything around. You get a guy like Ellie here, you get Hunter Green on the same timeline, and that's when you go supplement this roster with significant money and talent. Well, now it seems like this organization's operating on two timelines. You have the current timeline of about 3 years, 3.5 years, with Hunter as your ace and Ellie De La Cruz as your shortstop. And now there's a second timeline that's developed, lucky enough for this team this year, where Chase Burns is an ace and Sal Stewart is an MVP candidate at the corner of the infield. So hopefully they can continue on that trajectory, and the Reds have another 3 to 4 year timeline to attack here in a couple of years. But it's a shame that we're sitting here in July of 2026 talking about potentially the end of this 2023 core, at least in terms of competition. And I don't think anyone thought it was going to get there.
But with you, when you have that core, you mentioned just Hunter Green, Ellie, now adding in Sal and Chase to that mix. If the Reds do decide to be sellers at the deadline, you got to make sure you hit on pieces that are going to help this roster next year to get back in contention.
Yeah. You're mentioning these guys, and I want Chase and Hunter. I want Ellie and Sal.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
That needs to be it. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're swapping 2 out for 2, well, it doesn't matter how good they are, because it's not going to be good enough.
This was a good
and that's
year
the
to try
example.
To take advantage of that.
And so we will see if, Kyle Schwarber isn't running through that door.
Should have been.
No matter how close you got, Reds, you should have got it done. You didn't get it done. We're going to get it done with Contipelli's countdown in 20 minutes. But up next, Sam Dykstra of MLB Pipeline to tell us how good the Reds farm system is. Next, right here on First Word. But look here, loose ball, Caitlin Clark passes it, gets hit in the throat, and nothing called there.
Refs didn't see it, James.
Yeah.
Didn't see it.
The ball's out of her hands, and then she gets hit, full body weight landed on, and this is going to be a huge story, and it should be, because Caitlin Clark is a star. And when I say that, I've seen WNBA, not insiders, but people that follow the WNBA much closer than I do, say, oh, well, she's not the best player in the league. I do not care. I don't care if she's the best player in the league. She's the biggest star in the league. It's not particularly close. And so when it's a very similar conversation, to pull it local, to Joe Burrow. When Joe Burrow gets hit and he gets slammed and he gets all these things, and it's been a topic, I've said 2 things. 1, what in the world are the officials doing? 2, teammates need to step up and defend him. I feel the same way about Caitlin Clark. And this continues to be a theme, continues to be a discussion. And, I mean, you saw it. Yeah. There's no way that should be legal. And it wasn't the only time that happened. She also hurt her back later in the game when she was coming down from a 3-point attempt. And so, man, this is going to be a huge topic. I would not be surprised if the WNBA acts swiftly for sure. And so when I see off-season winners lists, I always expect, just naturally, oh, well, the Bengals will be on it. Maybe they're not 1 or 2. The Bengals are going to be on the list. they'll be in the top 5, certainly, because they should be. They added some key pieces. It would make sense. Well, not according to Josh Edwards. Let's take a look at this list here, courtesy of CBS Sports, where, wait, the Bengals they didn't even have the best offseason for an Ohio team? That, according to this CBS Sports ranking, the Browns lead the way, followed by the Raiders, Jets, Rams, Titans, and we're going to break this down. Then the Chiefs, Panthers, Commanders, Texans, 49ers. Look, Jacob, when I see this, the fact that the Bengals are nowhere to be found is shocking to me, especially when you look at a lot of those teams. I'd be stunned if the Bengals weren't far better than them. But when you look at where they were last year, a 6-win team, there's a reason expectations are really high. There's a reason why they're right there with the Ravens in the mix to win the AFC North from an odds standpoint. It's because they added a lot of pieces this offseason. I don't know how you can look at that and say they didn't have a top 10 offseason for what they did this offseason.
Hey, I'm Marisa Contipelli, one of the co-hosts on First Word and a features producer here on The Crown, where I will be out and about in Cincinnati bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City. Now, I know I'm from Cleveland, but I love my Cincy sports. I've been in Cincinnati for almost a decade now, spending the last 8 seasons with the Bengals as a team reporter and senior producer. I am so excited to be a part of the team here at The Crown, and I can't wait to bring you the latest from around the city.
This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
First Word rolls on right here on The Crown. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati. And let's continue the Reds conversation with a discussion about the future. Because let's be honest, the present, it hasn't been fun. It has not been fun for the Cincinnati Reds. And for more on that, Sam Dykstra of MLB Pipeline is joining us now. Sam, we certainly appreciate your time, and we definitely want to dive into your top 100 that you released last week. But before that, just an overall outlook, overview on the future of this Reds team and Reds farm system. How do you view this Reds farm system? Because obviously, like I mentioned, the present-day Reds have struggled over the past few months.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at this Reds farm system right now, you kind of have to take a long-term view. Yes, Edwin Arroyo is up with the big league club now, and I'm sure everybody has opinions on how he's doing at the major league level. But beyond that, there's not really that next guy to really point to and be like, oh, he's going to be the big help this year. Maybe it's Hector Rodriguez. They're a little bit light on arms, but when you have somebody like Alfredo Duno in the system, that's a big talent, and I mean that in every sense of the word big, to dream on moving forward. So I think much of the focus right now is on that type of superstar that you could get out of Duno. Obviously, they have guys like Steele Hall, their first, more of a long-term piece for me. But in terms of immediate help and high ceilings, it's.
And maybe Duno coming sooner than expected. Tyler Stevenson on his last year of his contract this year. I know you said it's not too soon for Duno to come up, but when could Reds fans expect him to be behind the plate for the big league club?
Yeah, he just got to Double-A now at 20 years old. If I were to set an ETA right now, I would say the second half of 2027. So maybe flash forward a year from now, and we're having that discussion again. Typically, anytime you get to Double-A, you can start dreaming about what the major leagues would be. I don't think the Reds are going to be that team that's going to be uber aggressive with Duno. Now, we'll see what happens in the second half. He certainly hit the ground running to start at Double-A. But even if Stevenson goes to another club in the offseason, I don't think we're talking about Duno as an opening day option. I think for his long-term success, you want him seeing AAA for an extended period of time, absolutely dominating that level like he can do with his hit and power tools, and then you talk about pushing him up.
People have been excited about Duno in this Reds farm system really since he was signed out of the international player pool a few years ago. A big jump this year has been in his power, the number of home runs and the RBIs so far this season, even playing against a better level of competition. How much of that could we expect to carry into AAA or AA and then AAA and then hopefully to the majors here in a couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, the power is the biggest thing to dream on with him. If you just look at him, I mean, I got to look at him at Goodyear in Arizona during spring training. He's somebody where everybody gravitates towards. Like, he's coming up in the lineup. You can tell pitchers are preparing for him. You can tell the outfielders taking a few steps back. It's mostly been a thing of health for him in recent years. I mean, he probably would have made high A last year if he hadn't been hurt 2 years ago. So now we're getting to see the really fully formed version of him. Now, I will say, normally with 20-year-olds, you talk about projection and physical projection and adding strength. He's pretty much maxed out physically. But even where he is presently in terms of strength, I think that would certainly play at least at an above average level in the major leagues, if not get to plus. I mean, he's somebody who I would expect could be threatening 25 to 30 homers, which is incredibly valuable at the catcher position.
Sam, you also had Steele Hall at number 52 on your list. He was the 9th overall pick of the Reds last season. Just what is it about, his potential as a prospect that made you have him that high?
Yeah, one thing I want to point out real quick with Steele Hall is that he's still 18 years old. He's not turning 19 until July. The Reds knew that this was going to be a long-term project when they took him 9th overall last year. And he's been at the Arizona Complex League, which, for anybody who doesn't know, one of the most difficult leagues to judge anybody in. You are playing in the Arizona desert all summer long. The infield is basically caked clay, so balls skip through that infield really easily. If you get it on the ground, there's a good chance you're going to get it through the infield. So sometimes the numbers alone are a little bit difficult to judge. But Steele Hall, who is 5'10", 180, or that's what he's listed at anyways, already has hit a ball above 110 in the Arizona Complex League. So that's promising because I think the power was the biggest question for him moving forward. He's a really good defender at shortstop. It's going to be, it's probably going to take 3-4 years before we have a discussion of when is he getting to Cincinnati. This is all about getting a base layer. I would like to see him at single A Daytona here in the second half, if not pretty soon. They just moved up Tyson Lewis to high A, so they have an opening on their infield there in the Florida State League. But so far for Steele Hall, we're still talking about what he's eventually going to be, not what he is right now.
When it comes to, you mentioned Edwin Arroyo, and obviously the Reds were able to call him up. He was 88th on your top 100 list. But what does he bring? How do you view him as a prospect? And has anything stood out about him since he got to the big leagues? Because obviously he ranks a bit lower than Duno and Hall.
Yeah, the big thing for Edwin Arroyo has always been the glove. And so for him to fit so seamlessly defensively into second base for the Reds, I mean, he would be a really good defensive shortstop, and we felt that way going back to his time in the Mariners system. But the fact that he's transitioned to second base, been every bit plus there. He's been a really good runner in the major leagues. I understand the numbers aren't there offensively just yet. And to be honest with you, at AAA Louisville, even when he was hitting well there, he was still uber aggressive in terms of his swing decisions. But the big thing for me with Edwin Arroyo is you go back 2 years, he had a shoulder injury that knocked him out for a long time. Last year was just about getting him back on the horse, getting him to play 100-plus games again. And now I think you're seeing him take off a little bit. The reason why we added him back to the top 100 is because the metrics were was back to basically average when everybody expects it to be below average at AAA. I think just getting that more major league experience, he's going to be, I'm not going to say he's going to be like a 120 WRC plus player in the major leagues, but if he can get to 100 with that glove, that's a really good double play partnership with Elly De La Cruz up the middle.
Absolutely, it is. And Reds fans know a lot about shoulder injuries ruining a middle infield prospect over the last few years with Matt McLain and what's happened since his labrum surgery. Is there any worry with Edwin Arroyo that could ripple through the next few years as he continues to progress as the second baseman of the future for this Reds club?
I mean, there always is, because like you said, we've seen it with McLain. But I will say, the progression since his injury back in 2024, last year was a little bit better. This year is taking another step. At least there's that trajectory moving forward. I think the biggest question is just making sure he can handle major league pitching, because it doesn't matter if you're healthy or coming off a shoulder injury 2 years ago. That transition from AAA to the majors is going to affect everybody differently. So hopefully he can kind of reel in that uber aggressive style in terms of swings and, become a little bit more selective with time as he gets that exposure. That's going to be so on the physical side.
Sam, I want to ask you about two current Reds, and one Jacob just mentioned in Matt McLean, in just his struggles. I don't know how much you've paid attention, but give Reds fans just an idea of what kind of prospect he was. Because I remember in 2023 how exciting it was when he came up and how good he was. Obviously, the surgery, he just feels like a different player now. But just from your point of view, what Matt McLean used to be and hasn't shown this season.
Yeah, I mean, you were kind of hoping he would be somebody, and look, right, just a couple of years ago, significantly better than where they are now in the slugging. You thought maybe he could be a 20 to 25 home run guy up the middle, and somebody kind of like an Arroyo, right? Like somebody more second base will be even better. He's been a defender at second, but Arroyo is better. Arroyo is a switch hitter. Arroyo has more upside because he is so young, just 22. It's gotten to that point where you have to flip the switch and go with the younger guy who, even if the offense is better, or about the same right now, at least he can grow into it, whereas McLean, clearly the arrow is headed down.
Has Sal Stewart's success this season surprised you at all that he's been able to hit the ground running so quickly?
No, not really. Just because, you look back to last year at AAA Louisville and then looking at what he was doing in the major leagues during that brief call-up last year, a lot of people reference Baseball Savant pages being all red. Everything you were looking for, right? All the indicators for Sal Stewart were extremely good in terms of hitting the ball hard, hitting the ball, on the screws, squaring up. Batting average, slugging percentage, all the expected stats were really good for him coming into the year. The biggest thing was, what is he going to be as a defender? Is he going to be third base? Is he going to be first base? Turns out it hasn't really mattered, right? The guy made an all-star team in his rookie year because the bat has been so good. So that has been really interesting and promising. Sometimes you expect, like I said, like even if there is a slight track record of major league success like he had last year, the league was going to catch up to him. That's happened a little bit, but it hasn't happened overly so. And, it's a credit to him. The thing we always said about and the fact that he's done that at the major league level is really special.
Hector Rodriguez didn't make the top 100 list, but certainly a Reds prospect that fans are excited to see at some point here in Cincinnati. He's been down in Louisville with the Bats. What would your estimated maybe timeline be for when we could see him up here with the big league club?
Yeah, he's definitely somebody I think could make it here in the second half, just because kind of similar to Sal Stewart, right? Like all the indicators for him this year, I feel like every week we're talking about him having like a 3-homer game or threatening for the cycle or doing something like that. Again, he's another guy who's been pretty aggressive. He's chasing outside of the zone 36%, but he's capable of hitting the ball 113 plus. I mean, that's really exceptional. He's going to pick up extra base hits in bunches. I think we're going to get to a point here, and he's been in discussions for top 100. Like we have a long list of potential replacements that we're always looking at. His name always comes up. And I think, if you need offense somewhere to inject in there, and Hector Rodriguez is hitting the ball as hard as he is and getting it in the air, pulling the ball in the air, I think he's going to be an option for him at some point soon.
We focused on the Reds prospects, some of the ones that have made it up this year, all three that you currently have ranked in your top 100. But someone I always go searching for when these top 100s come out as a Reds fan is Mike Sirota. Mike Sirota was one of your biggest risers this year, or in this ranking, ranked now number 11, would be the number 1 prospect in the Reds system. For a team like Cincinnati, how much does trading a prospect like him for a player like Gavin Lux for just one season really affect the depth of the prospect pool for a long time to come?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a difficult one to swallow, and I certainly understand any Reds fans' frustrations, right, with seeing Mike Sirota take off the way he did. You have to remember the timeline of when he got traded, right? He was somebody who, out of Northeastern, people going into his junior year, stock tailed a bit, did not go as high in the draft as I'm sure he would have hoped. And then the Dodgers and Reds have conversations, and this has been a trend the last few years, actually. You trade guys you just drafted. Now, that seems a little counterintuitive. You drafted them for a reason. You like them. But at the same time, you're not really that connected, right? You haven't poured months of development work into them. And at the other side of the coin there, the Dodgers of his development track record. So the Dodgers, if you look at our top 100, it's littered with Dodgers outfielders. I don't know if it's something they're doing developmentally, if it's something they're doing in terms of identifying. Yeah, well, all the league is calling them now and like, who are you willing to part with? I'm sure that's going to be a common question here coming up on the trade deadline in August 3rd. But yeah, they identified something in Mike Sirota, and he's got, I haven't checked in on it this morning, but his on-base streak right now is above 65 games. It's just an absurd approach for what he's doing, and it's continued in the move from high A to double A. Could he have done that in the red system? I'm sure he would be good. I'm sure he'd be a top 100 prospect. Would he be as high as he is without the Dodgers' developmental success and track record? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, that's still pain. Regardless, there's no.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
This has been great, Sam. He's Sam Dykstra. Make sure you check out his top 100. Plenty on Steel Hall as well at MLBpipeline.com. Sam, we certainly appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys.
Good stuff there from Sam. And make sure you follow Sam at Sam Dykstra, MILB on X. Man, just pain when it comes to that trade.
Yeah. I even scrolled down, and when I saw him ranked number 11, I was like, wow, that's big. He's the biggest riser in the top 100. Moved almost 30 spots. He moved more spots in this top 100 than Alfredo Duno. He's ranked 24th. Sirota moved 26 spots. Yeah. Unbelievable.
There you go. Pain. But that's the definition of what's happened to the Reds so far this season. We'll continue the Reds conversation coming up in a bit. But up next, it is time for Contipelli's Countdown right here on First Look.
The Crown has you covered. Start your day with the First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the Working Lunch, Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. Built for Cincinnati. First Word for your morning sports, the Working Lunch for business that hits home, Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones. Just your typical 40-year-old Cincinnati girl. Although, no, I'm not married or divorced. I don't have any kids, and I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is the West Side, by the way. But what I do have is a lot of freaking time, and I've been using it well. So come along with me on this grand adventure, because I've been trying all the new around town that you need to know about. This is Nat Tries That.
And yet, I think that there are Bengals fans that will see him in a Ravens uniform and strictly say, oh, this is the washed version of Trey Hendrickson. This is the well past his prime Trey Hendrickson. This is the guy that is going to cost the Ravens. I'm not saying that, to be clear. I do have thoughts, though. But first, Jacob Tissot, your thoughts. Is Trey washed when you see these photos?
Can I say it?
You can say whatever you want.
He looks washed in the photos. I mean, this is Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Garnett. This is Tennessee Titans, Julio Jones, Ravens, DeAndre Hopkins, if you will. It's just that end of the career jersey guy that it just doesn't look right. And maybe that's partially because he was playing for the Bengals in so many big games against the Ravens. It's still not quite clicking for me that he's in Baltimore. It's going to be weird to see him suit up there week one. But
Seahawks TO.
All of these, before my time, but absolutely a Seahawks TO comp there. Celtics Shaq, Cavs Shaq, Suns Shaq. All the Shaqs. Yeah, I mean, he's in that group for me when I see these pictures. And
Magic Patrick Ewing.
Magic Patrick Ewing is a great shout. Yeah, that's a big one for sure. But I think Trey is getting there, and maybe that can obviously be quelled with any kind of significant production this year, which I think he certainly still has some juice off the edge. We'll get into some stat predictions later. But when I saw those pictures, it really shocked me how washed I thought he looked going into next year. My name is Jacob Tissot, and I'm a co-host of First Word from 7 to 11 every morning right here on the Crown Network, where we will break down the biggest stories in Cincinnati sports. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama, where I spent 4 seasons working for the football team as a student assistant, contributing to the 2020 National Championship and 3 SEC championships. I'm a Cincinnati native, a St. Xavier High School graduate, and will bring a local perspective and passion to covering the Bengals, Reds, and everything in between. I'm excited to have you join us on First Word.
This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
First Word rolls on a Tuesday. Just a quick reminder that you need to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, follow wherever you get your podcast, and also check us out live on the Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Also, if you miss a show, guess what you can do? Listen wherever you get your podcast.
Well, didn't you just make it easy?
I did make it easy. It is easy every single day, 7 to 11, talking to you. And one of the most fun parts of the show? Well, it's Contipelli's Countdown right here on First Word.
It certainly is, and we are still on LeBron watch here at the First Word desk. So will LeBron be mentioned in Countdown? We're gonna have to check in later on as we count down. But kicking off number 5 today, a 25-year-old relief pitcher for the Nationals, Eddie Jean, made his major league debut over the weekend. And no, he didn't walk out of the bullpen. He didn't run or sprint. He arrived in style, taking the baseball cart. Love to see this.
I have a problem with this. It's the first time I've seen this card this year. Does that mean the other Nationals relievers are declining the card? This is the most electric thing I've seen in a baseball game in quite some time. Put the Reds relievers on Redzilla and drive them out to the mound when it's time to relieve the starting pitcher.
Maybe this is why the bullpen stinks.
They're wasting all their legs running out there.
Yes, they're tired by the time they get out there. They're paid to pitch. They're not paid to run.
Absolutely.
I'm in. Redzilla, you're gonna get mileage is going up now.
Good.
Yeah,
let's use it.
I agree.
I'm all in.
Redzilla, let's get a new cart. We need a fresh cart for the bullpen. They should have something of their own, right?
First Word cart.
Just trying to think of some uses for Redzilla.
Fair,
that was a good one.
I'll drive.
I'll drive.
No way. Can't trust Jacob driving. I'll drive.
Come on.
It's just what I've heard.
But he's our driver for a road trip, so I feel like we should be able to trust him.
And I'm going to have 3 seatbelts on.
End of the day, though, rookie arriving in style for his major league debut. Absolutely love to see it. Another thing I loved to see that is making the countdown here at number 4, Mizuno came out with some UV color changing gear in their glove collection. I'm a big fan of the Mizuno line, having played softball my entire life. Have a lot of Mizuno products. Guys, I'm very tempted to add one of these to the collection.
This is Marisa trying to get a Mizuno endorsement.
Hey, call us up.
It's not played softball her entire life, played softball her entire life. And I just want to make that clear to everybody. That was not past tense. She's in like 14 softball leagues because she could use some Mizuno gear. And yeah, it is really, really cool. But this is absolutely the endorsement grab right here.
It's the bananification of baseball. All these colorful gloves, the sliding mitts. It's the bananification of baseball.
He's
so are
out.
You
Brown
out?
leather
You're out?
on a baseball glove.
I love this.
Yeah.
Especially for like relief pitchers, I feel like this has kind of become like a staple we've seen. Like they just have fun gloves.
Yeah, Mizorowski has like a $100,000 Pokemon card in his glove.
That's
now
true.
It's insane.
Yeah. I would never put anything of value like that in my glove. Never a scenario.
What happened to the brown leather, man?
I love that you're such an old young or young old. Which one's first?
He's an old soul?
Yeah. Sort of,
Maybe?
but in some ways not.
Not at all.
Some ways he's 7.
I don't know. It's weird.
But like,
he's just Jacob.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Just Jacob.
Yeah. What happened to the old? And then he's like, You know, like, all right, man.
Yeah, I'm the only advanced metrics fan that doesn't like the colorful gear.
You can't have baseball reference on the inside of your glove, and yet that's what he would do. Brown leather,
absolutely.
baseball reference screen, touch screen on the inside.
That's fair.
You would do that.
Savant.
Baseball savant, not reference.
Yeah, well-
Sorry, reference. I meant savant. It's the way more analytical version.
Mizuno, call us up. We'll get you on the show. We'll get some gear in my softball collection. Sal Stewart also might have made a call to Manny Machado when he was younger. So why did Sal make a PowerPoint to present to Manny? Well, MLB caught up with him to find out why.
Come to Cincinnati.
For those who don't know, how did this friendship get started?
Yeah, so when I was about 10 years old, we had a family friends in common, you know, Yonder, Pacheco, Petey. You know, Petey was my hitting coach, and he still is my hitting coach. I can call on him anytime. They kind of just brought me together with Yonder and them. When I was young, you know, Manny was doing what he was doing at a young age, so obviously I was kind of looking up to him because he was so good. Yonder had been in the big leagues now for 5 or 6 years, so as I got older, it turned more into just a friendship, you know, just someone I can count on. And then I always ask, like, hey, please, like, can I work out with you guys? Please, like, I'll do whatever it takes. I want to be surrounded by good players. At some point when I got drafted, I made a PowerPoint explaining to them why they should want me to work out with them. Wow. The biggest lie I ever wrote in that PowerPoint. Biggest lie. They didn't need me for anything. I needed them. They just thought it was cool, you know, and then we just kept on progressing, you know, and man, they're family to me. Like I said, it's definitely a role model that people should look up to for sure. And I'm happy I can call both of them my friends.
For those who don't know, how did this friendship get started?
I mean, Sal is just the best. This is phenomenal. He's becoming a staple in Countdown for good reason. I love getting to see this personality and just, you know, the human different side of these guys. And Sal is just top notch. It's great.
Yeah, I said it a couple weeks ago, still holds true. He's batting 1,000 off the field. I mean, every single clip, post-game interviews like this have been phenomenal. He's been a great player with awesome production so far this year. They got him in the All-Star game, but he's as good as you could possibly hope for a young player in his rookie season off the field and how he handles himself. And I don't think there's a better third baseman of the last 10 or 15 years to work with as a young third baseman than Manny Machado. So pretty good start for Sal.
Yeah, right. There's no doubt about it. I love seeing this. We need more Sal. And yeah, all-star this year, but future just star in general. He's going to become a household name. We felt it with Ellie right away, just the electricity he brought the moment he came up. Different with Sal, but the production, the personality, what he says to reporters, his interactions, star.
It would not surprise me if at some point in the next year we see some kind of content series or segment with Sal just because of the personality he brings and shows, and he's honestly just such a natural.
He seems to enjoy it.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like it's a task on a list he's checking off to do a quick interview here or there. He seems to actually enjoy it, and I think he sees the value in letting his personality shine a little bit because the production can only get you so far. I think so much of his fan base has gotten behind him this year because of what we learned about him off the field.
Well, you know, he could do flashy gloves and bands on and gear on. He's just Sal.
We got a dog.
He's a dog.
He certainly is.
How many people are going to get that?
Love to see it from Sal. And I teased earlier that we've been on LeBron watch. Well, we're not the only ones here in Ohio. Giannis, who is now down with the Miami Heat, has also been on LeBron watch, and a couple friends of his pulled a little prank on him.
LeBron went to Cleveland? LeBron signed with Cleveland. Bro, is this real?
I don't know, but they're spamming it.
Alex, can you see if that's real? Yeah, let me. Bro, they say LeBron signed with Cleveland. LeBron signed with Cleveland.
Are you serious? No fucking way.
Really? Look, he said this again.
Nope.
Are you fucking with me?
No,
not really.
Well, I didn't tell them anything. Are you lying or not?
Nope,
He
not
was
really.
just so stunned here, and then his reaction when he finds out, just the sigh of relief that comes over him. I thought this was pretty funny. His friends decided to kind of have a little bit of fun with him, and as Jacob and you guys know, I'm hoping it comes true.
Yeah, dream on. Dream on,
You
dream on, dream
what
on.
do you mean?
Dream on. You're all excited about little Donnie signing an extension with the Cavs and get that little Donnie. Giannis is the man. He's the best. Yeah. Honestly, if I'm LeBron, Giannis, Steph, little Donnie. There are levels to this.
For sure. but he's not from the town Giannis or Steph playing, so I can swing things as
He's
well.
not going to sign with the Akron Beacon Journal. All
I
right,
think-
he's going to sign.
Yeah, he's not going to sign with. He's not a writer. What do you mean?
He's got 4 years of eligibility left. Get the Zips a championship.
I'm down for that.
That's worth like 2 of Jordan's rings.
Akron's
If he wins March Madness
in
with Akron,
baseball. Oh,
well, he's certainly a better baseball player than Jordan.
Jordan was good at baseball. Anyway,
Giannis wants
he could do
LeBron in Miami.
anything.
Jordan was putting up Matt McClain numbers for the White House.
Man.
That being said, what I will say, and you guys will appreciate this, the power of LeBron to completely own the NBA world right now at 40,000 years old, where Giannis is like, he signed where?
Yeah.
And is doing that. Giannis obviously wants to team up with LeBron. I mentioned the Donovan Mitchell thing. He's open to playing with LeBron in Cleveland. Why wouldn't you be? There are a lot of players, teams hoping that LeBron joins them. Makes sense. It's a testament to his greatness that many teams want to play with him.
We're over a decade removed from the famous tweet. This can't go on much longer.
Well, that's
and now he's a free agent at 41, and no one can stop talking about him.
Yeah.
Greatest.
Second greatest.
Yeah, the power is crazy. Will
Good
LeBron
resume.
be on the show and on Countdown tomorrow? It's high probability of that. But we are going to round out Countdown today with an item that will probably be gracing many Christmas trees throughout the tri-state area because Hallmark unveiled their ornament preview for this season. And part of their Football Legends ornament is none other than Joey B getting his own little figurine there. It's about 2 by 5 by 3 and will be available for purchase starting July 11th at a price of a steal. Sounds like $28.99. He joins other legends and honorees like Joe Montana, Emmitt Smith, and Peyton Manning. So kind of cool to see that Hallmark's putting this out.
Yeah, needs to join them with a Lombardi, and Joe knows that more than anyone. I'll say this, real easy to get Jacob Tissot a gift for Christmas this year. It's a real easy one to get, layup. So it's pre-order, right? It's not available yet, I can't get it yet?
It's
I'll
going to
look
be
it up
available
right
starting July 11th. So,
July 11th,
yeah.
okay, I'm bad at listening. So the good news is, I'm a Hallmark ornament expert because they make the best ornament. I mean, anything you can think of, they make, and now they have a Joey B one. I got you.
This will be on the Tissot tree. No
I
question
literally
about
just
it.
told you I'm getting it for you.
Well, I appreciate
I'm
you.
gonna
Thank
look it up
you.
right now.
Love that. This is a good
Now
one.
I gotta deliver because it's on camera.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
man.
I'll flip
I
this
mean,
after
James,
the show.
I would like one too. If
Oh,
we're just like handing out free Christmas gifts right now.
I was gonna get you a LeBron one in a Warriors jersey after he signed the alley-oop from Steph to
But
LeBron.
see, they're not going to make that because it's not happening. So I don't know where you'd find it unless you're going to hand make it.
I'll get you the
Handmade Christmas gift
Joe
names.
Burrow elf one that I found that isn't nearly as
I'm looking
cool.
at it and it's not as cool. This is much
What
cooler.
is that? How did they get by with that one? Oh, it's not Hallmark, by the way. So there you go.
This one's legit though.
It
A
is.
few questions about the helmet, but the rest of it's great.
Is it? What's wrong with that?
Wait, yeah, what's with the helmet?
The face mask?
Yeah.
The face
okay.
mask. Well, you
Space between the top bar and the top bar of the face mask.
You need to be able to see his face, though. So
For sure, I get it. Gotta
And
take some
look how
creative
little,
liberties.
like, it's so
called
little.
art.
Yeah, it's called art. Ever
Yeah.
heard of it?
No.
I didn't think so. Look at that. Just a beautiful ornament.
I wonder how fast Hallmark is going to sell out of these.
Is this the
Feels like
jersey
maybe
you would
record
pick?
time. So I will say that's one of Joe's favorite combinations. It's not my personal favorite.
Maybe he got to pick then.
Maybe he did. Or they just know that he likes, wearing that combo.
I always love, black jerseys are my favorite by a decent margin, so I would like to see them.
The All Blacks are pretty cool. I mean, this is the Bengals. I think the main jersey they usually wear.
Yeah. I would have went with the Mizuno gloves and gear and band. No, I'm just kidding. It's a great ornament. It's quality. I have a bunch of Hallmark ornaments. I'm thinking, I have video game system ornaments, and I'm gonna keep doing this because Gabe's gonna be like, "Hey, throw to it." Harry Potter Hallmark ornaments, different Grinch Hallmark ornament. I literally wait till after Christmas, see which ones go on discount. This one won't be available regardless.
No.
But
no.
you know it's quality. The Hallmark ornaments are the best, no doubt.
All right, we're gonna need, once we hit December, or I'm not sure how early you guys start decorating, I'm gonna need a photo of all of your Hallmark ornaments. Let's rank them.
I think a tree would go real nice right about there.
Ooh, and James can bring them all in.
Bingo.
It's great.
I'm all in.
That's right.
Rodney, can I see your credit card? I need to order some Hallmark ornaments.
All right, well, time will tell just to see how many Joe Burrow ornaments will be on trees around Cincinnati, but we still have plenty to get to here on First Word this morning. Coming up next, time for us to revisit our poll question of the day. What's the word? Straight ahead here on First Word.
So, over, under 3,000 yards receiving for both Jamar and T combined this season. Oh, come on.
I can't. How
Come
am I?
on.
You guys.
You? What do you mean, you guys?
3,000 yards. The most that they've ever combined in their careers
2024.
together, exactly, was just over 2,600. So you're telling me, where are these other 400 yards coming from? When you have an offense that needs to feed Mike Gesicki, you need to feed. You're not going to feed Mike Gesicki?
Not if I can feed T and Jamar. But
Okay.
needs is
T-
relative. Needs, not Mike. Don't make it about Mike. The word needs is what stood out.
Well, you
to
need
me.
to feed Chase Brown. That I will stand by that one.
That's fair.
But
He's a
no,
running
you
back.
have so many offensive, options on this team. T and Jamar are going to be double teamed at times too. So there's that factor in it as
No
well.
doubt.
However, this is also a team where we're expecting to be good, to be better this season, to be playing ahead with leads. They're going to be running the ball a lot more later in games. At least I'm expecting them to. I'm hoping they are, because if they're down and they're throwing, then there are other problems at hand. I realistically don't see them getting over that 3,000 mark. I could see them getting between 2,700, 2,800, but not over 3.
So you think they're going to get really close? And
Yeah,
just
I
not
think
get
they'll
that-
be close. I just don't think they'll get over.
The city lives and breathes sports, and now it finally has a morning show to match. I'm James Rapien, and this is First Word, the only morning sports show in Cincinnati and the place where every day starts. First Word, weekdays 7 to 11, part of the Crown Network.
Hello, my name is Natalie Jones, and welcome to the Nat Jones Show. After retiring from my 10-year radio career here in Cincinnati, I caught the bug, and I'm happy to bring it here to the Crown. I love captivating people who have captivating stories to tell. And the thing about it is, everybody has a story to tell. All you got to do is empower them to do so. That is exactly what I'm doing here. Because life is better when we all stay curious and we all stay connected.
Cincinnati means business. And what does that mean for you and your community? The Working Lunch, every weekday at noon, takes you behind the local business scene with local headlines, interviews with owners and local leaders. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, only on The Crown.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
First Word rolls on a Tuesday. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We're going to dive into all things U.S. men's national team and the nonsense that happened last night. Nonsense against Belgium. But we'll start that conversation right now by hearing from you in our What's the Word poll question of the day. It's very, very simple. Was it a successful World Cup for the U.S. men's national team? 52.2% of you, the majority, say no, expected a quarterfinal appearance. 36.9% said yes, it was successful. They made it to the round of 16. And 10.9% say no, expected semifinal. Let's dive into some of these responses here real quick before we react to the results. And I got to be honest, I look at some of the reaction, and Gail, I figured we'd lose and was thrilled we got to this match, but I figured they'd at least play hard. They sure didn't seem to. I agree the how certainly mattered, and I think that stood out to me last night for sure.
Yeah, it was a brutal loss and just not how you wanted to go out. Even if you are going to go out in the round of 16, 4-1 as the betting favorites going in, tough pill to swallow. But Kirk says for the 65% of people who say no, just remember we advanced just as far as Brazil did. Well, I don't think any Brazilian fans would say it was a successful World Cup, so.
No, but the U.S. and Brazil are on two very different levels internationally. I mean, it also advanced as far as Canada, Mexico, Portugal, a lot of other, premier programs compared to just the U.S. And how soccer has kind of been in the country.
Dana, Montana would have been successful if they were competitive today, but this was an embarrassment to the sport. Ruins any semblance of progress they made. Dana, Montana off the top rope.
Phenomenal username.
Just going after Marisa after that. Just responding that way instead of the, hey, they made it to the 16. And I think that's it. Is the how is going to change everything. If it was 3-2 or they lose in penalty kicks or whatever, then I think it would have been a much closer poll there. But the fact that they didn't, it's rough. And expectations were high. We had Nick Hagelin on last week, and he was like, look, quarterfinals, he set the bar even higher.
For me, getting to the quarterfinals is a success, but I think for this group is expected to push beyond, and I think for me a semifinal would be what everyone would hope for.
Yeah, I get it. I never even really wrapped my head around the semifinal potential. I did think quarterfinals was realistic, and so that's where I fall.
Yeah, there were a lot of expectations. They were high. But at the end of the day, too, at least for me, and why I still view this as a success, is that, this team reinvigorated the nation, and it's what everyone had been talking about, and there's excitement again with U.S. soccer.
Yeah, I think last night undid a lot of that in terms of, talking about being a legitimate contender, getting to the quarterfinal, potentially getting to the semifinal, going into the next World Cup. I think a lot of conversation around the U.S. is going to be, hope they don't have to play a top European team anytime soon.
Yep, we will see, but we're going to continue the conversation. We'll hear from Christian Pulisic, who's taking a lot of criticism, next, right here on First Word.
The Crown has you covered. Start your day with First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the working lunch, Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. First Word for your morning sports, Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, the working lunch for business that hits home, and Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
Speculation with free agency starting today that LeBron could team up with Steph Curry in Golden State and make me a very, very happy as a Steph Curry fan. Very, very excited. Meanwhile, Marisa Contipelli is about to walk off the set just with the idea and the thought of LeBron going to Golden State.
Oftentimes you can be dramatic and exaggerate things. You're not right now. This would literally be my nightmare as a Cavalier fan. I think I might boycott the NBA if LeBron somehow ends up in Golden State.
Oh my God, you can't boycott them. We're going to talk NBA here, Marissa. You can't boycott
Not if LeBron's in Golden State. I can't
She
do
just
it.
ignores the NBA
As a whole. Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, they'd probably play all 82 games on national television, so it would be hard to avoid them throughout the season. Yeah, all I care about as we roll into NBA free agency is number 5. It's getting LeBron that 5th ring. And
Curry number 5.
Best chance to do it for both of them is to play together. So I would love to see him run for it. I would love to go chase number 5. And it's a pretty dangerous proposition to have James and I on the same side during NBA season this year.
Where's the broom?
Do we switch spots for NBA?
I think so. No, but I am all in on the Steph, Draymond, 80 LeBron Warriors.
My name is James Rapien, and I host First Word every weekday morning, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. Prior to joining The Crown Network, I covered the Bengals for Sports Illustrated for 6 seasons. I also am the founder of Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube and wrote the book, Enter the Jungle, A History of the Cincinnati Bengals. Couldn't be more excited to join you every weekday morning for First Word right here on The Crown.
This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
It's waffle time here on First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati. Are you getting waffles at 11? You?
No.
I'm talking to you. You're not going to do that?
No.
We're boycotting waffles. I don't know what you're doing.
You are. I thought he was eating
I already
waffles.
had breakfast today.
What did you
Just
did?
have waffles next time I eat breakfast.
Okay. All right.
No waffles.
Lunch waffles
And I
are
love
great.
waffles.
I have a.
It's called a brunch waffle.
I got a thing of blueberry waffles yesterday. I'm excited to break into them at some point.
Oh, you bought them.
Poof.
Eggos?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Come on. What do you think I can eat? I can make like 4 things.
He said, come on. Well, come on. What do you think? Well, I thought that it wouldn't be 4-1 yesterday.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's called a transition, which is something the U.S. men's national team struggled with, the transition from offense to defense yesterday. My goodness, I'm just in my bag right now.
Yeah, you are.
And they were not in their bag yesterday, 4-1. And I got to be honest, Belgium from the jump, they were the better team. They were more aggressive. That's the thing that I'm most disappointed in, and we're going to hear from multiple members of the team in a second, is just how tentative the U.S. played throughout this match. Early on, it was pretty clear, hey, Belgium is the aggressive team, and you thought U.S. was going to settle in. They didn't. Belgium took a 1-0 lead in the 9th minute, and then they were tied for about a whole 35 seconds. It was like 61 seconds of actual time of being tied 1-1 before Belgium took the lead for good. And it's an unfortunate ending to what was a fun World Cup run. The U.S. not really competitive in the second half, and they dropped the match 4-1.
Yeah, I think the 3rd and 4th goals were really just the cherry on the top last night. The 3rd one, I mean, one of the most mind-boggling things I've ever seen take place in a soccer game. Just
Freeze.
He froze.
Right. And he completely missed the ball, stuck right behind
Freeze.
it, and then
and then
he just kicked it back, and Tim Way couldn't get there and went in the goal. And it's just a tough spot to be in when you're playing a team like Belgium You know the U.S. is going to have to play a near-perfect game, and you're fighting. You somehow are only down 1 goal. Watching that game for the first 35 minutes of it, and only being down 2-1 was somewhat surprising. And then to get all the way to the second half and still be within striking distance, they had a shot, and then that happens. It even felt like they were taking a little bit of the momentum, and then that happens, and it all just ended right there. I mean, I think everyone probably gave up, at least to a degree, after a play like that. I mean, it just takes everything out of a team that was going to need everything to come back. And then the 4th goal in the 3rd minute of extra time is going to be, something that just completely swings the way that final result is viewed when you're looking at the box score on Monday morning.
Yeah, you felt like the U.S. had to come into this game and play near perfect. Belgium on paper was the better team, and they came out and played like the better team last night. They had all of the momentum early, and that was something we talked about, was not letting Belgium get that momentum early in the first half. That's exactly what they did. Going into last night's game, in their first 4 World Cup games, the U.S. had allowed a combined 10 shots in the first half in those matches. Last night, Belgium had 11 shots in the first half alone, and compare that to just 2 shots on goal for the U.S. Didn't create any big chances last night, and it just felt like Belgium was constantly on the attack, and the U.S. was just trying to play catch-up and just really couldn't get many chances created on the offensive side.
Yep, that's it. I mean, it felt like once they got down, it was uphill. And then the goal, shout out to Tillman, the goal, it was like, okay, maybe. And even by the time you said maybe, they were down again. And they were chasing. And they weren't the aggressor. And it was a struggle. And Tyler Adams talked about that with Fox Sports afterward.
Tyler, I know that this loss will sting for a while. What was missing? How would you assess the performance from the group?
Yeah, I think football can be cruel sometimes. Let's not get it twisted. I think the better team won today. I don't think our performance was great overall. That being said, I don't think we can take away what we accomplished in the rest of the tournament and the type of football that we were playing and trying to play. I think tonight, the goals that we conceded were too easy. When you give good players the opportunity to score goals, they're going to score goals. And that's what happens as you progress in the tournament. Normally the teams get better and better, and we faced a good Belgian side today. So, again, I think it's in the moments that we were doing well, we felt amazing. And then obviously in an opportunity like today, we didn't grasp it, and it's going to sting, like you said.
Yeah, just really tough. And the thing that, don't get it twisted, the possession, that whole second half, it was Belgium just kind of hanging back. They play defense and pick their spots and attack when needed, but shots, possession in the 18, they were just so dominant. And just 2 shots on goal for the U.S. Just from an offensive standpoint, there was never a time where it was like, all right, they're going to generate anything within the flow of the game.
No, and another stat that is alarming, you look at touches in the opposition box. Belgium had 22 on the night, the U.S. only 12.
Yeah, certainly not great. There were a couple chances that seemed close, but even just looking back now that the game is over, it doesn't feel like the U.S. gave themselves enough chances, even if they did maximize a few of them to really be in that game. It was, I think, the Balogun one that went over the goal, that was a corner that got reversed, and then the corner right before half had another chance, neither of which got close. Only 2 or 3 runs down the side that really had a shot and couldn't land the pass either time there. So it just really looked like the U.S. was outmatched last night. It looked like 2 different tiers of teams that somehow ended up in the same tournament. And I think the really frustrating thing when you look at just what happened with Belgium last night, their best player wasn't even on the field. Kevin De Bruyne didn't play last night for Belgium. Lukaku checked in late in the game, who obviously in the back 9 of his career, but still one of the most recognizable and effective players when he is on the pitch. So it's not even true Belgium that beat the U.S. 4-1 last night. And Belgium was a team that struggled so far in this tournament. So I think it just put everything that has happened already in the tournament and that will happen in a little bit of a different lens for this U.S. team.
Yeah, the how matters. And it wasn't competitive, and I think that's it. Is there was never really a time where it was like, all right, well, they've gathered themselves and they're going to rally. Part of that was Christian Pulisic. He struggled big time when he was out there, and then he left with an injury in the second half. Here's Pulisic afterward discussing what this run meant in his mindset following an appearance in the 16, or the final 16.
The team really inspired a whole nation to rally around you guys and support this team. What did that support mean to this group, and have you been able to reflect on that at this World Cup?
I mean, I'll reflect on it more, but it's been such an incredible journey. Like this summer, I never wanted it to end. So I'm just so thankful to all the American people that supported us and gave us that boost. It was awesome. Something, definitely a summer I'll never forget.
And any thoughts on building on this in the future?
Of course. I mean, yeah, we need to get over that next hurdle and trying to compete and beat the world's best, and that's our next step for us. It wasn't quite there today, but I think we showed a lot of good things that we have potential to do it, but there's still another step that we have to take.
There's a few steps, because as you see, the round of 16, well, that's been a theme. The U.S. finishing in the round of 16 in their last 4 World Cup appearances. They didn't qualify in 2018, but dating all the way back to 2010, the round of 16, a familiar fate for the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, and Pulisic just talking about needing to get over that hurdle. Well, it's been since 2002 when they were back in that quarterfinal. So still trying to get there, but here you take a look at just what the U.S. did this tournament run, getting that first knockout win since 2002. The 11 goals they scored, the most in a single World Cup, and getting back-to-back wins for the first time since 1930. I think that right there just goes to show the struggles that the U.S. has had on this international stage. So hopefully, despite the result and the disappointing loss last night, this could be the start of hopefully 4 years from now we see the U.S. get over that international hurdle.
Those stats and milestones right there, and then ending in the same spot it's ended in the last few, I think is what makes it even more frustrating. This wasn't the same U.S. team through the first 3 or 4 matches that they played this year. It was significantly different. And I don't think that's looking through red, white, and blue glasses or anything like that. I think this team really was different. We saw them really take advantage and be a dominant team in this World Cup, certainly against some lesser competition. But even if you're not going to beat Belgium, there was an all around the country belief that they could hang with Belgium. And that's my worry, is that now leaving this World Cup, the U.S. won't play in a World Cup again for another 4 years if they're lucky enough to qualify for that one. And now the whole conversation going into 2030 is going to be what happens when they play a European team. If they dominate the group again, if they win that first knockout stage a game again, it's always going to be what happens when they play that European team. And it felt like this year was going to be the chance to flip that and really change that and go on a run on home soil. And I don't know, even if they go on a longer run in 2030, it won't have the impact it could have had here in America on home soil. So it just feels like a missed opportunity for soccer as a whole in the U.S. I do think it opens up a window for a massive opportunity for the MLS to capitalize on a lot of this excitement from American fans that are just watching soccer for really the first time in terms of a consistent basis, watching these games from 3 to 10 o'clock every day. The MLS has a window here to capitalize on soccer excitement in America, and I hope they do with a loaded up schedule in the second half, because it feels like it would be a big mistake to have this Belgium loss be the end of the soccer conversation for the next 4 years in America.
Yeah, you certainly hope not. We'll see. You sound like the end of the broadcast there. That's what he was saying. So they were saying at the end of the broadcast, like, don't let this be it for the next 4 years. And I think that is a concern. And again, I think part of it is what a lot of people tuning in maybe for the first time last night because of the excitement, what they saw. Jeff Cameron, who's joined us on the program before, highlighted the struggles, the how in the 4-1 loss when talking about it on SportsCenter.
You could see it. They were like apprehensive from the first game we played in the World Cup against Paraguay. We set the tone. We were aggressive. We had this energy. We didn't have that tonight. And I think all over the pitch, we were second best. And you could sense that we were second guessing. Do we step? Do we drop? We're giving them too much respect. Hey, they're a top 10 FIFA ranked team, right? But you got to give them respect, but you don't give them too much respect. They're also playing in front of our fans. And for us, I think we were apprehensive. We were nervous. Those are all big things. There's a huge knockout game. This is a rematch from 2014, which I had the privilege to play in. Listen, I understand those nerves, but just we had too much quality to go out the way we did tonight.
Yep. Too much quality. Expectations were too high. The how matters. Like I said, if they had lost 4-3 or 1-0 and it had been close and competitive, it just never felt close, never felt competitive, never felt like they were going to advance to the quarterfinal, and that's why I think a lot of fans, including me, disappointed today.
And that's what it is. I think it was hard maybe a couple weeks ago to come to a conclusion that you could be disappointed with this USA World Cup. I mean, after winning the group,
Advancing past the group,
all of the vibes going in and then beating Bosnia and getting Balogun's red card revoked over the weekend, like vibes were just so high around this team. I don't think anyone really let it creep into their mind a loss like this level of dominance that opens the window to a disappointment on the overall run, which it changes so drastically how what's been probably some of the biggest months in the history of the sport in the U.S., it changes drastically how they're viewed.
If the red card just stands and Balogun, there's never a discussion Sunday going into Monday. We're not talking about it, all the things, the song and dance that comes with it. Is this how they play?
Could play that what-if game. I mean, it was a distraction. Maybe it did become a distraction in that locker room. And, people were saying that, Ponce should have stuck to the game plan that they created with Pepe because they spent days preparing for no Balogun in there, and then it changes the day before. But you have to think, too, and even Tom Rinaldi spoke with some of the Belgian players after the match, and they said that, it added a little bit of motivation. So Belgium had that extra fuel to the fire, and you said it yesterday that the Belgium team just needed to go out and play and win, and that's exactly what they did. They seemed like the team with a little bit more to prove and a little bit more behind them last night.
Yeah, I would have liked to have we didn't have our best player card this morning. That would have been nice.
No doubt.
That would have been very nice.
Much easier to go that route, and they didn't, and that's why the pressure shifted.
Yes.
The moment that was announced Sunday, the pressure shifted. Belgium got mad, and they should have, and they played like it. Meanwhile, the U.S., it was little going through the motions a bit at times. It felt that way. Whether or not that's true, we could debate it all day long, but it certainly felt that way. So unfortunate, but that is exactly how the World Cup ends for the U.S. this year. We're going to switch gears. Up next, it's time to talk Cincinnati Reds, and there could be multiple players being eyed by contenders. We'll dive into that next right here on First Word.
This is the Rebound Rundown. I'm your host, Paul Fritchner. Your home for college basketball in the Cincinnati area and across the country every Monday through Friday during the season. Previews, recaps, breakdowns, interviews, and more. You can find it all right here. Your one-stop shop for a quick dose of college hoops on your morning commute. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
They wouldn't be one of the first 10 teams I listed to win this year's Super Bowl, and they have not been anywhere close in the last 3 seasons that have been played. It is surprising to me how much staying power that one win against the Chiefs has had.
All right. Worst word. And here's why it's the worst word. 1, put your fandom away. Yeah. The Kansas City Chiefs fandom is nonsense. 2, this idea, Jets, Raiders, Titans, Cardinals, Giants, Falcons, Colts, Saints. If Drew Brees was playing in his prime for the Saints right now, guess what? Then you could compare the Bengals to the Saints. You're comparing all these teams that are hoping, praying, and may all be in on Brendan Sorsby, right? Outside of maybe the Raiders with Mendoza or whoever they had. But my point is none of them have a franchise quarterback. The Bengals not only have a franchise quarterback, they have a guy that Nick Wright apparently likes. No chance do you actually like Joe Burrow, because if you like Joe Burrow, you'd be aware that going head-to-head against your guy Mahomes, he's won more than he's lost. And that's it, is Joe Burrow going up against Josh Allen, Mahomes, insert whoever else you want. He's either won or going to have a really good chance of winning regardless of the defense, which you praised. And I think that's it. Why are all these shows talking about Joe Burrow? Because he is one of the best on the planet. Have they had some down years? Absolutely. But you can't deny that. You can't deny that Joe Burrow is in that conversation with all these other guys. And so, like today, who are you taking? Patrick Mahomes coming off of a torn ACL? Did you watch Mahomes last year? Joe Burrow, when he was out there, was better than Mahomes was last year. I know Burrow has the health issue. Fine. So you could say, yeah, the Bengals are really good, but Joe needs to stay healthy. Well, everybody knows that. This argument that they're one of 3 teams and then comparing them to the Falcons and all of these other, quite frankly, losers that can't figure out quarterback is unfair because the Bengals have Joe Burrow and they don't, and sometimes it is that simple. I would never make fun of Marisa Contipelli when she's not listening. It's always when she is listening. I'm James Rapien alongside Jacob Tissot. This is First Word. That's fair. If you're going to.
Everyone needs friends who will make fun of them to their face.
Correct. Marissa's like, what are you doing? I don't know. What we're doing is talking Reds baseball. And we have a whole series preview to dive into. The Phillies in town. Kyle Schwarber, Reds legend. Wait.
Should have been.
Could have been. What a bit.
Did you know he's from Middletown?
What? Wait a second.
Like, he's from the Cincinnati area.
He's a Midi?
Yes.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Is that why? Think about that. That is unbelievable that they could have brought him close to home and certainly his home team, and they didn't.
He grew up a Reds fan, James.
It's wild.
What
are they thinking? We'll dive into that coming up in a bit, but instead of who the Reds should have signed, let's talk about who they could potentially trade. Jim Bowden, former Reds general manager, mentions multiple Reds, fan favorites, let's call them stars to really bother Jacob Tissot, as potential trade deadline candidates. And, Spencer Steer leads the list of names that other teams could be interested in, could be targeting. And I think this is really interesting. Best fit for the Toronto Blue Jays, Spencer Steer mentions a bunch of other options as well, including JJ Someday Bleday, but Steer's versatility, first, third, and left field, and his hitting ability could be enticing. Let's start there. Spencer Steer, trade, keep, that deadline less than a month away.
This is a really tough one for me because Steer's one of the only players on this Reds lineup that has consistently produced. And I'm not just talking about this year. It's really been the last 3 years. You know exactly what Spencer Steer is going to do from a back-of-the-baseball perspective when the season ends. He's going to be around 20 home runs with about 20 stolen bases and a pretty productive bat at the plate. Now, how he gets there is certainly not the simplest at times. There's a lot of highs and a lot of lows, but he's gotten there more often than not. And I think the Reds are drastically in a need for something like that, a known commodity, if you will. And Steer certainly has been that since he's gotten to this Reds team. However, if the Reds are going to sell, they're going to have to move Spencer Steer because there are not enough players on this team that are good and worth value outside of him. I mean, when you look at the Reds' bats, at this point, he is one of 4 guys with more than 200 at-bats with an OPS above league average. 4 on this entire Reds roster. And the other one, JJ Bleday, was also listed in that roster, in that article of potential trade candidates. So I think it's a little easier to trade Bleday just because of the slump over the last couple of months. But Spencer Steer is a very tough conversation, though I think it would be the right move for the Reds to trade him.
Yeah, I would hate to see the Reds move on from Spencer Steer, and especially you do that now in the season. I think that's a clear indication of how they view the second half going and what this team is. But I look long term too. I mean, he's just so versatile, and I love having pieces like that. You can play multiple positions and still produce in the lineup like he has, and especially this season and as of late, one of the few reliable bats that you can kind of count on a consistent manner. And so, I mean, Steers played 85 games just behind Sal Stewart for the team lead, and is amongst the team leader in many of the statistical categories. He's top 5. So I would really hate to see this bat leave, but if you're going to trade him, make sure you get a pretty decent return for it.
And that's the thing. With a lot of these other players on the block potentially for the Reds, some of them are trade them. Expiring deals, getting lottery tickets with prospects in the season that is seemingly, a long climb to get back into contention already in July. Spencer Steer is one. You got to be sure on the return. You have to be very comfortable with that package and really think about it before pulling the trigger on moving Spencer Steer.
Yeah, I think Steer should be on the table. I would be open to moving him. It needs to be right, to your point. He is valuable. He is versatile. And his value and versatility has helped get you here, too.
Yes.
So I get it. Fan favorite. You love him and all these things. And the plan was the plan. And he's played pretty well. Totally open to it. And I'm open probably to a lot of different moves that are going to potentially help this team in the long term versus the short term. And long term could mean next year. But the reality is they've been so bad for 2.5 months now, 2 months and a week, that April feels like it was seasons ago. April feels like it was, you might as well say the 2012 Reds to me. I mean, it feels that long ago. And can they rekindle that? Can they get that back? It doesn't feel like it. And so if they're not going to do that, there really shouldn't be many untouchables. Some, not many. But Spencer Steer certainly someone that I'm not going to cover up and hide, so to speak. Jim Bowden didn't just mention him, who, by the way, not just the Blue Jays, Phillies, Guardians, Mariners mentioned, and you saw that on the graphic. But JJ Someday Bleday, the Blue Jays and Phillies mentioned. Maybe he's auditioning for a role in Philadelphia. I think that's an interesting storyline going into this series with Philly. And then Eugenio Suarez potentially being a good fit for the Guardians, according to Jim Bowden. The Suarez one's interesting because that was the big fish. That was the guy you brought in to help rekindle this lineup, give some juice to this lineup, improve this lineup. So far, it hasn't happened. He has 8 home runs in 61 games.
Yeah, I think Suarez is the one that this team's most incentivized to move, try to get some value out of this contract, and it doesn't seem like you're going to be getting it on the baseball field from Suarez, at least not so far. That can certainly change if these next 2 or 3 weeks are the best 2 or 3 weeks Suarez has had this season. Now, it certainly doesn't help that the All-Star break is mixed in the middle of there before the trade deadline, and he's not going to be able to play as many games as he normally would through this amount of time. But if he can be incredibly productive, maybe that shifts the conversation because there is that mutual option for next year, so could potentially get some serious value from Suarez on a $16 million contract next year. But I don't know what really anyone's seen from Suarez so far this year to believe that he can bounce back next year. The underlying metrics aren't great. He's never walked a ton. He strikes out just as much as he always has with hitting for less power so far this year. So not exactly a lot I'm buying into on Eugenio Suarez for the long term here. I think that's partially why the Reds signed him to a 1-year contract with a mutual option, because they also were not buying into the long term of his production here after the last few seasons. So I think Suarez is the one at the top of the list for me that you should be actively trying to move if you're the Cincinnati Reds. JJ Bleday to Philly, it makes a lot of sense because he was between Philly and Cincinnati in spring training when he signed with Cincinnati. He decided to come to Cincinnati because he thought it gave him a better chance at playing time. We've seen that by the fact that he's batting second in this lineup. But it would make sense that the Phillies go get a guy they were already interested in who has proven he can hit right-handed pitching.
Yeah, and that's certainly an interesting one. And the Suarez one is to me, too. It's just still baffling as to what's happening up there right now with him at the plate. I mean, he's currently on pace for just 21 home runs and 82 RBIs, and that's over the course of a 162-game season, which we know he's not going to reach due to the injuries that he has, had this year. But you look back, the last time he failed to get at least 22 home runs, you have to go back to that 2020 season where he only played 58 games. And so it's just that he had been consistent up until, this point, and it's like, what's happened? And so you would love to hope that he can come out in the second half if the Reds decide to keep him and they're not moving on from him. But the last thing you'd want to see, too, is him get traded to another team and he goes off in the second half. So it would be a tough pill to swallow either way if you keep him and he stays and doesn't produce in the way that you would hope he would, or if you trade him and he goes off and, hits powerful for another team. So very interesting to see what'll end up happening with Suarez. And yeah, to your point too, about Blade, I mean, he's been on a decline over the last, month and a half, 2 months here, and could absolutely be a name that the Reds look to move on from.
Yeah, I look at all three of these guys, open to all of them, and we put it in our YouTube chat for a poll. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Follow us on YouTube, where you can watch live every single day. And should the Reds trade Steer, Blade, and Suarez? 66% of you say all three. Just trade all three of them. 14% say no, buy, which Jacob Tissot loves that. 14% say no, Suarez only. 7% say yes, Steer and or Blade. I think it's interesting. I think if it's all or none, I say all. And if they're just trading JJ Blade, or I choose all three, I would just probably roll the dice and say all three, because it gives you a shot here. Now, the buy case is pretty simple. Can you find someone that's a major league talent or close to it that's under control? Hard to do from a contender, but certainly possible, especially if you're trading Eugenio Suarez, maybe. But the thing that I think about, he didn't sign until February. What is his value? And he signed a pretty market-level deal, $15 million. How much value did he have this offseason where he accepted that one-year deal with a mutual option, not a player option, a mutual option? And how much is he actually going to bring back? I do think there's some risk in trading Suarez. You trade him to Cleveland, he hits 25 home runs from Marisa's hometown team, and then you feel pretty dumb about doing it.
What if he does that in the second half after you don't trade him, and he opts out of the mutual option, and the Reds still aren't good enough to make the playoffs?
Then
that's the worst scenario.
I don't think that's the worst scenario. Then at least it was like, oh, well, you evaluated it good enough to where you got something out of him. Like,
I think the best thing the Reds can get out of Suarez right now is a fuse prospects.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, from a long-term perspective. But this idea, one, if he hits 25 home runs over the next 3 months, he may opt out of that. He's very much in play for the Reds.
Certainly could, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that. Like, the Reds are the team that signed him. I think he'd want to be here. Maybe he would want another year or something. I'd love for that to be the problem. He hits 25 more home runs this year. Sign me up.
Yeah.
That's the worst case scenario. No chance is that the worst case scenario.
Yeah, I think if the Reds hold on to him and he gets hot and they still miss the playoffs and he opts out, that is the worst case scenario for Suarez.
There's no scenario where him hitting 25 home runs is the worst case scenario, to be clear. The worst case scenario is holding on to him, the Reds opt out, they don't get anything for him, and he hits 2 home runs. That's the difference. That's the
worst case scenario is you hold on to a guy that's not on the team next year where you can get value for him at the trade deadline.
If he's good this year, it doesn't matter. Still.
Individual success does not matter. If the Reds are outside of the playoffs and you could have gotten value for somebody, get value for them.
I get that logic, but that is not worse than hitting 4. If he does what he's done for the next 60 games, that is far worse than him hitting 20 home runs. I don't understand.
Why would he do it in Cincinnati?
Why would he do it?
Trade him. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what the success is in the second half. The right move is to trade him.
If you get offered an awful offer because he has no value, then there's no reason to trade him. Just see what he does in the second half.
I'd rather watch other guys. Get young guys in the lineup that'll be here for a longer time.
Who?
You call up Hector and you play him in the outfield.
We had Sam
and you can
Dykstra. They don't have guys that are worth bringing up right now.
Hector is on the doorstep.
Oh, okay, so bring him up anyway. You're going to move someone. Like this idea that you have to move a Eugenio, you don't have to. And the worst case scenario isn't him hitting 30 home runs or 25 home runs. Say that out loud.
I think it's up there.
That is not the worst case scenario. What are we talking? The worst case scenario is Brady Singer finishes out the year not giving up another run.
Different from the mound.
I mean, that's not a worst case scenario.
One of the worst case scenarios in my mind is Suarez getting hot in the second half of this season and the Reds still missing the playoff.
In a Reds uniform?
Yes, because that means they handled it horribly and didn't trade him for prospects when they could have.
What if they're not getting a real offer because he stunk for 3 months?
You're going to get something for him.
Something?
I don't need anyone that's going to help the team next year or the year after.
Okay,
I need a couple
so
prospects.
you're just taking anything.
Essentially.
Yeah, I'm not there. If
this team's so far away from contention.
I was seeing your side of it until
none of these trades are for next year or the year after.
They should be, though.
I disagree. I think this roster is significantly far away.
But you have
competing.
your core with Ellie, with Sal, with Chase, with Hunter.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity right now for the next couple of years.
It depends on what you get offered for Suarez. That's the whole point. You can't just be like, hey, by the way, maybe you can. Maybe you do this. I've never gone to a car lot in my life and been like, I'm buying a car today. Because that's the worst time. That's the worst place to do it. You walk into a house, I'm buying the house today. Well, you're going to get ripped off.
Yeah, it puts you in a bad spot.
So don't do it. That's it. Like, you can't do it. That's just not the negotiating power you want. When you're at the table, you want to be comfortable leaving the table.
I don't think there is a table. I think the decision has been made. You don't have negotiating power. You got to trade them.
There is a trade buffet. Yeah. Trade them all. Get rid of them. I have a feeling we're going to revisit this conversation. Jacob is fired up. We'll continue the conversation next, right here on First Word.
Cincinnati, Ohio. We welcome you from Cincinnati, Ohio. Nickham with the fan favorite to put it away. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Oh, what a catch. Cincinnati can't
You put me in this position, and I'm going to do it because I need to do it. It's Patrick Mahomes is better than Joe Burrow because he's proven it for far more years. He's done more. His ceiling is higher. And you look at it, he's played at least 14 games every year he started. After that rookie year where he sat behind Alex Smith and learned behind him and he started that one game, since then it's 14 plus. So he's been durable. And that's what's tough. Like, yeah, his numbers have dipped over the past few years. And do I think in a vacuum Joe Burrow could be the better quarterback? Absolutely. He's got to prove it. Doesn't have the rings, doesn't have the MVPs, and hasn't had the durability. Would it be different if he was in Kansas City and Mahomes was here? Probably, but it's not. This is it. And I think Joe would probably admit that too. Like, he has to prove it this year. And do I think that on the surface he can be the number one quarterback on the planet where this isn't debatable next year? Absolutely. Can I hold Patrick Mahomes coming back from an ACL when Joe Burrow's had all these other injuries? I'm not going to hold that against him. I think his weapons have been far worse over the past couple of years. Yes, he has Andy Reid. He has a more stable franchise. There's no doubt. They've been more consistent, and were consistent going into the Mahomes era. It would have been like if the Bengals drafted Joe in 2016, coming off of that 2015 run, and that roster was about to hit its prime, and then Joe takes over. It would have been a bit different. The way he inherited it, Mahomes did from Alex Smith. So I get that. Joe has the ability, and I believe he can be the best player on the planet. And I believe Zach Taylor when he says, there's no one else I would rather have than Joe Burrow. But when I look at their resumes, one is Patrick Mahomes' resume. One has been more durable. One has won more. One has more accolades. And then the other is Joe Burrow. And I can't run from that, even though I do think that in a vacuum, Joe could be better than Patrick Mahomes this season.
Cincinnati, home to more than a dozen Fortune 500 companies. A city where you know someone who knows someone, and you're in business. Every weekday at noon, The Working Lunch brings you headlines from local businesses, along with exclusive interviews with owners and local leaders. East Side, West Side, northern suburbs, downtown over the Rhine, and northern Kentucky. Real conversations, real Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley. Weekdays at noon, only on The Crown.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
Jacob Tissot believes home runs are bad. Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien. He's Jacob. Home runs are bad. Tissot. Marisa Contipelli, who knows exactly how good home runs are. Let's see if she's going to do it.
I kind of agree with they can be rally killers. Even though I do love home runs. I'd rather look. We can get on this topic at another point. I'd rather constant doubles, constant hits. Like I'm being very serious.
I wasn't ready.
Oh no.
No.
What?
You belong in the 2023 Reds booth, calling the games. They talked about that all the time. Drove me crazy.
It can be.
You both think home runs are bad.
You get one hit, you could score a run automatically, and it's bad?
And then that has the next, two guys get out? Yeah.
Just hit more home runs.
You're not going to have 3 home runs in a row. How?
Well, this Reds team's not going to get 3 hits in a row, so you might as well have one go out of the park.
Oh, man. I can't believe we got here. I almost fell out of my chair.
Man.
Adam would have been so. You, home runs are bad. Her, home runs are rally killers. Me, I want more of them. And that's why Kyle Schwarber should be a Cincinnati Red. Reds, you failed, like the U.S. men's national team. Failures trying to get Kyle Schwarber. I'm not going to let you live it down. Kyle Schwarber in town tonight as the Phillies in town. You going?
No, not tonight.
Tomorrow?
Chase.
Tomorrow's Chase? Okay. Well, there you go. And that's part of our preview here as we dive into it. Look at you. He says that because he goes to every Chase Burns start.
Everyone I can.
And it makes sense. Hopefully he doesn't give up many home runs. That run differential for the Phillies. Remember when the Reds played the struggling Phillies?
Yeah, that was fun.
Remember that? It was like early May. We were doing test shows. And it was like, oh, well, that similar record. Well, things couldn't have gone worse for the Reds. They're 41-48 on the season. They have a minus 60 run differential because they haven't hit enough home runs for that side of the desk. Meanwhile, the Phillies, 50-41 on the year, still have a minus 7 run differential. 5-5 in their last 10. Zach Wheeler on the mound tonight for the Phillies. Meanwhile, All-Star Andrew Abbott, who, yes, I'm referring to last year's All-Star appearance, 5-4 on the season, a 3.88 ERA on the mound for the Reds.
Zach Wheeler, potentially one of, if not the biggest all-star snubs of this year. He's been phenomenal coming back from his thoracic outlet surgery a couple years ago, a surgery that has derailed careers for multiple starting pitchers in the last few years. He's 8-1 on the year with an ERA below 2.5, over 80 strikeouts, and a whip below 1. He has been dominant coming back from that surgery. Somehow not on the all-star roster for the National League, but he'll be pitching in Cincinnati tonight, and that's not a great thing for this Reds lineup, who have struggled against other teams' aces just as much as they have against some other guys in the rotations. And I think the thing that jumps out to me over the last few are Cam Schlittler, the last ace that the Reds faced. He had his career high in strikeouts with 17. And this team has been striking out quite a bit over the last month and a half. That's something that Wheeler really can prey on in this lineup. So hopefully the Reds can have some early success, but Wheeler's not a guy that usually lets that happen.
No, Reds historically just batting 188 against him as a team. Spencer Steers just 1 of 10 against him. Suarez is just 3 for 15 lifetime against him. So, yeah, numbers not looking overly promising against Wheeler tonight.
Let's not forget.
Suarez not going to start his 30 home run streak.
Probably not.
But you're going to boo when he does? I hope he hits
before the deadline's great. Give me more value. Bump up the value.
If he hits 10 home runs between now and August 3rd, he's staying right here, brother.
No, I hope not.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be awesome. Trade for James Wood. Juan Soto. No, I'd be all in. But I think the thing to remember tonight,
Juan Soto.
That'd be a sweet trade. If the Reds are getting mowed down by Zach Wheeler tonight, I think something to remember is that Zach Wheeler should be in this Reds rotation. In 2015, Jay Bruce had a deal done to trade Jay Bruce to the Mets for Zach Wheeler, who was one of the most exciting pitching prospects in baseball at the time. It was nixed at the very last minute, ended up not coming to fruition, and Zach Wheeler has blossomed into one of the best starting pitchers of the last 5 or 6 years. So incredibly frustrating every time he comes to town. Marisa just talked about the Reds' numbers against him. He's dominated the Reds for quite some time now. So incredibly frustrating when he comes to Great American and has success because he should be wearing a Reds uniform.
Relax, he wouldn't be right now. He's making $42 million this year.
Well,
don't. Don't do that.
Maybe the Reds would have paid somebody, man.
They will, just not Kyle Schwarber, who I'm going to mention it all week.
Good.
You're going to hear it all week long, Kyle Schwarber. That's a layup.
Should have been.
if he hits a home run, are fans going to cheer?
Yeah. I think he gets borderline like a standing ovation on the first at bat.
You think?
From the fans that are there, absolutely.
Fair. Let's continue our series preview here on First Word. Tomorrow, you mentioned it, Burns Day. And anytime Burns is on the mound, I will say this, high level, anytime you're going to have Andrew Abbott and Chase Burns back-to-back, we've said this.
Should feel good.
You feel good. And so if the Reds are ever going to give us any semblance of hope, it's got to start about right now, because the 41-48 on the season and Chase Burns on the mound tomorrow. Are you going?
No, I will be there Thursday.
Got it. Thursday. You're going to be there tomorrow for Burns. Yeah, space it out. We got to make sure the First Word crew's there.
So you're going tonight?
I'll be watching. I will be watching. I will.
From Great American Ballpark.
No, from Rapien headquarters.
Oh.
We got our own headquarters now.
I can't wait to visit Rapien headquarters.
Yeah. We'll see if you're invited. After home runs are bad.
Inviting myself.
It's going to be a passcode. Hey, what? Our home run's good. No. You just get the bouncer. I'm going to have Doug throw you out.
That'd be bad news.
You'd be just flying.
Yeah. So
Chase Burns tomorrow. They have a real good shot with Burns on the mound.
Yeah, always do. And that's the thing with this Reds team is once out of every 5 days, you can actually be confident they can win a baseball game. And it's because of what Chase Burns has been able to do. And that's why Chase Burns is an all-star, is because he's leading the MLB in wins for starting pitchers on a team that has struggled to win for 2 months. He hasn't lost a start on a decision for quite some time now. We're talking about multiple months now since he's lost a decision on a start. So Burns has been amazing. It's always a joy to watch him pitch, even if the Reds aren't able to get the victory. But 5, 6 innings into the game, maybe 7 after his last start, that he's going to keep them in it, which is all you can really ask for from a starting pitcher. And Burns has done that with flying colors so far this year.
Yeah, they certainly need Burns to get it done. And who knows, maybe we're sitting here on Thursday morning. Like, Abbott got it done, Burns got it done. Marisa, you're usually optimistic, so let's go. I'm going to give you the torch.
I believe the Reds have won 4 of their last 5 against Philly. We're gonna look at that route, and we have Brady Singer on Thursday, and Singer's been pitching fine. He's had some quality starts.
Optimistic, Marisa.
So I'm going to be the optimistic one here at this desk always. So
at least with the Reds, there's no doubt.
Yes.
The Phillies were 500 last time we played them.
I know.
500. They were 24 and 24.
So the Reds were too, right? They were like right in that 500 range.
Yeah, certainly close.
I think they had dropped. They dropped under 500, like right around.
Yeah, because the Reds were the coldest team in baseball after the 2011 start, and the Phillies had just gotten to 500 as well.
Triangle.
Yeah.
So maybe we do the opposite now. It's like
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's send the Phillies into a free fall. Why not?
Yeah.
Here,
we'll
this is a
rise.
trade I can get behind. You ready?
Suarez for Schwarber.
You read my mind. We've been around each other too long.
I knew
You
it.
just find a way to swap them. Hey, Phillies.
Guess who did that in the show franchise?
Everybody did it.
Correct.
Everybody did it. Sam Chavez did it. He didn't even know who Kyle Schwarber was until right now. Or maybe he did. You know who Kyle Schwarber is? Yeah, okay, he knows who Kyle Schwarber is.
That's huge.
Did you think he knew?
Yes.
Oh.
What?
And even if I didn't think he'd know, I was going to say yes on the show.
There we go.
I
That's
absolutely
fair.
thought he knew.
I didn't
He's one of
know.
the biggest names in baseball, let alone okay, anyways.
She just made the argument to pay him. Why didn't you pay him, Reds?
Bingo.
Anyways, more on the Reds, more on this series, plus World Cup and Kyle Schwarber. There's a little bit more up to date, a little more news on him. We will get to that and more next right here on First Word.
This city has always had something to prove. While the rest of the country talked about us, we built our own voice. Blue collar, underdogs, built differently, overlooked, talked about like we were supposed to stay quiet. But that was never who we were, because this city doesn't wait for permission. And neither do we. And now, for the first time, Cincinnati has a network built in its image, because the biggest stories in this city deserve more than highlights. This isn't cable television. This isn't national media. This is ours. This is The Crown.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, a Cincinnati native, and I have been in media for about 10 years now. Formerly on the radio here in Cincinnati, I grew my love and obsession with finding all things fun in Cincinnati and have now made it my life. I'm originally from the West Side here, and then I've pretty much been a downtown girl ever since college. But I did leave for 7 years, and during that time, I really grew and harnessed and cut my teeth doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, learning how to ski in Colorado, and now I'm back here in Cincinnati, driven by curiosity and grounded by family.
Vacation edition, the lounge edition of Countdown.
I'm getting a good stretch.
Yeah, there we go. You need it, man.
I know.
You are not the most malleable.
That's better than the other options you could have went with.
Yeah, probably. I was trying to figure out a good one. All right, let's dive into it. From basketball. We're going to stick with basketball.
This one's yours.
This is my favorite
Unbelievable.
thing ever. Shaquille O'Neal trying to test his reaction time. This
I mean, it's just not even close,
Shaq. My man, what are you
Yay!
Play it again, Gabe. Hold on.
got
Let
one.
that run for a minute, because this is my favorite thing.
Man.
He's so dialed. And look,
The best is number
This one.
whatever, like 7 or 8,
God.
where he doesn't even look.
oh gosh. Oh man. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
No, this one. And he doesn't even turn.
He didn't even
This
see
man,
it.
this is the best or one of the best centers of all time. No reaction time.
I'm Paul Fritchner. I'm a 2019 graduate of Xavier University, and I've been covering college basketball for 10 years here in the Cincinnati area. I'm the host of the Rebound Rundown, a daily college basketball podcast during the season and a weekly show in the off-season covering everything you need to know about your favorite team. And if you're not a fan of a team here in Cincinnati, I have you covered from the national perspective as well. Follow it on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati. And I mentioned Kyle Schwarber about 52 times, so I'm reading Cincinnati.com. And boy, oh boy. Ellie De La Cruz telling Cincinnati.com's Gordon Wittenwire, I thought it was a done deal. You, me, everybody else thought it was a done deal as well. We'll dive into Reds Phillies coming up in just a second, and I'll get your reaction on that. But I just got to tell everybody, got to remind everybody that we are your morning sports show. You can check us out live on the Rock Entertainment Sports Network, live on YouTube. You can listen live on Mixler. We're streaming on X, on Facebook as well, at First Word Cincy. And take us with you on the go in podcast form on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. And it's not just us. No. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley every weekday, noon to 1. Rebound Rundown with Paul Fritchner, the Nat Jones Show, and Nat Tries That Dirt Biking edition premiering on YouTube at 11 right here on the Crown. Big. I've never rode a dirt bike, so I'm excited to watch Nat try
I'm expecting big air.
You think?
I want big air.
I think she's going to try.
That's
Like-
all.
Well,
That's all.
She tries it.
I know. Like, not just right. Like, I think she's going to try to get big air. I just
Yes.
I want big air.
What's involved in getting big
Nat,
air?
of course she's going to try to get big air.
Yeah. Have you rode a dirt bike?
No,
Would you?
probably not.
I think I would. I don't know if I would try to get big air at this stage of life. You should.
No. completely out.
He is the most injury prone at the desk.
No
I
chance.
don't think he should go near
Oh,
a dirt
no, I
bike.
think you should.
No
it might
interest.
knock some sense into you about how home runs matter. Both of you should. You
No
should do a
interest.
tandem. A
I
tandem.
did not say home runs didn't matter.
Marissa and I will do
just-
a whole hour on rally killers at some point. We'll
gonna
save
have
that
to.
for the All-Star break.
Yes.
I like
Oh,
keeping the
that's-
pressure on the pitcher, but okay, we'll save that conversation.
We'll roll it. We'll have that
You know what applies pressure?
Runs.
That long
Yeah,
ball.
and then you can
runs.
easily move past it and go on to the next batter. Anyways.
Who can also hit a home run.
I love it. Oh, man. You know who hits home runs?
Not Suarez.
Kyle Schwarber.
Nah.
When Ellie De La Cruz tells on record, hey, I thought it was a done deal. One, and there's probably more to this that we can get to tomorrow, like on ramifications on Ellie and all those things. What goes through your mind, though?
What's the list at this point? Bryce Harper thought it was a done deal. Kyle Schwarber thought it was a done deal.
For the Reds, yeah.
Right, that he was coming to Cincinnati.
Yep.
Bryce Harper said he thought it was done. Kyle Schwarber said he thought it was done. Ellie said he thought it was done. The Phillies pitching staff has now said they thought they were losing Kyle Schwarber. Trey Turner said he thought they were losing Kyle Schwarber. Everyone thought Kyle Schwarber was a Red. It's exactly what they needed in the lineup, a consistent power bat that's going to hit a ton of home runs and a ton of RBIs that you can just slot in that third or fourth spot and call it a day. You're going to have a power bat for the entire year. I know it's a DH, which was tough for a lot of people to wrap their head around spending that much money on a DH, but designated hitters have to hit, and the Reds haven't found a designated hitter that can hit since that rule became universal. So I think it's incredibly frustrating that seemingly every single person in baseball associated with Kyle Schwarber thought he was going to be a Red, except for the Reds.
Yeah, it is that's a tough one, especially with the way the lineup is struggled.
Yep.
Like we heard from Jim Bowden earlier, we read part of what he wrote for The Athletic, and it's like, yeah, the Reds could use another bat. Yeah, they could use another bat. They could use some stability. J.J. Bleday has been good and then bad and then good and then bad, and yeah, that's part of it. Sal Stewart's had an up and down year. Obviously, he's an all-star and been awesome. You've gotten Chase Burns, who we'll see tomorrow. Like, all these things have happened. The stability that would have came with Kyle Schwarber would completely change how we feel about this Reds team. Who knows what the record would be? I would say they would be at 500 or better, and it would just feel like they would have a real shot to make that second half run. That just feels so far away. Maybe in a week it doesn't. But right now it feels so far away from even being a remote possibility.
I think one of the biggest things a Kyle Schwarber edition would change is a month ago when Sal was really down, you're not focused on him because you don't need his production as much. You have veterans that have done it for a long time that can carry this lineup when other people struggle.
Yeah, he provides a lot of protection to the other guys around him in the lineup.
Do the Reds get it done tonight?
No. Wheeler's too good.
Yeah, Abbott versus Wheeler. You say no?
I think I'm more confident in Burns tomorrow.
Wow. I believe in my guy Abbott.
I know you do.
Wheeler,
Yeah,
Wheeler, come over here.
I believe in Abbott too.
I think Abbott's going to have a great, solid game. It's
Wheeler's
just,
not allowing more than 2 or 3.
Wheeler's.
Suarez
Tough
is
to
going to
hit.
start. Gabe, Suarez is going to start his 30 home runs
Road to
tonight.
30.
The road to 30 starts tonight, taking Wheeler deep. 2 rally killers for Suarez tonight. 2 rally killers, and All-Star Abbott gets it done. We will certainly see. The beauty of First Word is we're with you every single weekday, and we will be back at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning to react to whatever happens with Kyle Schwarber, Zach Wheeler, Andrew Abbott, and the Cincinnati Reds. Until next time, for the entire First Word crew, Jacob Tissot, Marisa Contipelli, and myself, James Rapien, thank you so much for watching and listening to First Word.